What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 8 OK Chapter 171 Orochimaru's Final Stubbornness, the prologue of the Chunin exam. Hinata, what are you? After regaining his senses, Hyuga Hiyashi ran out and wanted to give Bajian to him, too. Just by looking at Hinata's dress, you know that this means to marry. Father, my father. Hinata blushed and lowered her head. She heard what the father said just now. If it's Master Bajian, Hinata is willing to. This is a misunderstanding. Hyuga Hiyashi looked at Bajian awkwardly. How to explain? I'm afraid Hinata just heard strange words when he came for tea. Hinata, this thing. Let's go. But when Hyuga Hiyashi wanted to clarify and took his daughter back, Bajian interrupted him. Holding a princess, Loli, who was stunned in front of him, in his arms, the man strode away from Hyuga's house. What's this? Hyuga Hiyashi opened his mouth, and finally did not stop the other party's behavior. Today Master Bajian suddenly visited him, and it shocked him enough. Two things. The first thing in the front is nothing compared to the latter. Byakugan can be purified. This is something Hyuga Hiyashi didn't expect at all. And Byakugan turned out to be the bloodline left by the brother of the legendary sage of six paths. Bajian has no reason to deceive him, nor will he throw a boring person to himself. The opponent's strength is enough to force him to abolish the caged bird system. But he didn't do that. Instead, he chose to reason with himself. What if there is no barrier between the branch house and the Zong family? Konoha will protect any bloodline in her village. This is where Bajian is completely different from previous generations of Hokage. His own courage. After stroking the scroll in his hand, Hyuga Hiyashi swallowed. And in terms of Byakugan purification and the so-called powerful physical skills, the previous ones are nothing at all. If a family wants to continue, strong combat effectiveness is the most important. The Hyuga clan has always ranked first in Konoha, but in fact it is most used in the investigation and divination. Apart from Gentle Fist, its own combat power is not very powerful. The 80 god airstrikes mentioned by Bajian just now were mentioned by the ancestor of the Hyuga clan, Lord Tianren. Did it reproduce the brilliance that belongs to the Hyuga clan? As for Hinata being taken away, the reason Hyuga Hiyashi doesn't stop is simple. The opponent is powerful, and it is the well-deserved 5th Hokage of Konoha's first person. It is an honor for Hinata and the Hyuga clan to marry her own daughter. Being in a relationship with an adult like 147, the Hyuga clan's benefits are countless. Of course, the most important point is that Bajian also owns Byakugan. Under the pressure of Byakugan just now, he felt an unprecedented sense of oppression, which was the oppressive force of the blood above his Byakugan. At that moment, Hyuga Hiyashi can even say with certainty that the other party is in the same line as him. In this case, whether it is to preserve the clan's blood or to establish a good relationship with Konoha Kenpachi, he has no reason to refuse. And Hinata himself has no opinion. She even wore the wedding gown her mother had prepared for her. Although the clothes look a bit big, they are not suitable for this age. But from the look of her daughter's expectation, she did not resist. My father, why did that man leave with his sister? At this moment, Hanabi, a few years younger than Hinata, suddenly ran over and asked curiously. Your sister is being held by your brother-in-law, is there a problem? Rubbing Hyuga Hanabi's hair, Hyuga Hiyashi smiled. Also Hanabi, remember that man. He is the benefactor of the Hyuga clan. The Madarashi family has one more staff member. But this little girl did not arouse the exclusion of the Aborigines. On the contrary, her bad personality made a few. The woman is very playful. Take it home and take it home. Bajian doesn't have much thoughts about Hinata for the time being. Leaning back on the recliner and closing his eyes, he was thinking about his next plan. The speed of merging small countries and small ninja villages has slowed down. And those more peculiar shinobu villages will continue to send to Konoha in the next time. Nice seedlings. Everything is proceeding in an orderly manner. Naruto and Sasuke have graduated, and Konoha will hold the Chunin exam soon. Minato said that this time the Chunin exam will be conducted with the 4 big ninja villages, and the other small ninjas. The village will also come to join in the fun. The purpose is to show them how strong Konoha's new generation is. This is the meaning of the Chunin exam. There will never be fewer disputes in the peaceful era. Showing off force is something that every shinobu village will do. Unlike the original book, the scale of the Chunin exam this time will be unprecedentedly huge. Konoha at this moment is so strong that other shinobu villages can't breathe. If you are not stupid, there is no village. The shadow of Konoha will not come, and Itachi has already reported to him Cloud Shinobi Village Raikage's plan. Well, he wants to put Bajian alive. Bajian almost didn't laugh when he heard the news. Did you hear that? I want to live by Bajian, who is Shinigami. Oh my goodness. When the multiple energies in Bajian's body fuse, his body has already completed its transformation. He doesn't know how far things have been extended. It is absolutely impossible to be killed by Cloud Shinobi Village anyway. Sage of Six Paths will die of old age because he is not the real Ōtsutsuki clan, only Kagaya. It's nothing more than the fake and shoddy existence created by Chakra. The mother who made him was sealed, and he also separated the nine-tailed beasts, which is not dead. But even if his body dies, his soul is still wandering in the pure land in this world. Bajien has the confidence to say that he can't die. Especially after he absorbed the golden wheel and bullseye on the moon, his physique improved by a leap again. Tenseigan successfully awakened. In the original work, Ōtsutsuki Sharon once said that he wanted to use the moon to destroy the world of ninja, and then wait until everything was flat. After the break, Hinata and Hinata came out in a blink of an eye to revive the environment of the earth and recreate everything. This is the original words of Sharon. From this sentence, it is enough to see how powerful Tenseigan is. Of course, the bright spot is not Tenseigan's ability. Bajien always feels that the purpose of the home is to create a partnership with Hinata. Create one race after another. Ha ha. Give me a girl and give you a nation. Can you beat your kidneys? Shaking his head, Bajien sighed slightly. After all, the power of this turning bull's eye has exceeded Yi Ying's imagination. It doesn't work for him to die, and the pervertibility of recovering the earth alone has proven. And Bajien was never Senju Hashirama, and he didn't want to be Senju Hashirama, he was him. After Chunin takes the exam, he will start to change the world of ninja. When the time comes, everything that should come out will come out. Chunin exams. I don't know if Mr. Snake will come this time. Closing his eyes, Bajien leaned back on the recliner and rested quietly. Snee. In the dark laboratory, a violent sneeze went out. Do you want to die, or you have to feel the pain? In front of him, the red-haired man with countless noses on his face looked at each other angrily. Mistakes. I usually don't catch a cold. Someone must have scolded me just now. Orochimaru wiped his face awkwardly and said, But Nagato-kun, in your state, I don't suggest you make me feel painful and put the last chuck. Put it where you want to use it instead. Slapped Nagato on the operating table, Orochimaru smiled dangerously and carried Rinnegan's experimental body. What a perfect experiment object this is. Looking at his hair, it has returned to red is enough to show how successful his experiment is. His strong hatred for Konoha made him climb onto his own operating table, which lasted 5 years, an ultimate. The monster appeared adding his 2 other chess pieces. Bajien-kun, maybe you finally choose to stand on Konoha's side. This is the last decision of your life. Picking up the vessel and drawing out the last green liquid and injecting it into the opponent's body, the wailing in the laboratory once again. Here we go. Orochimaru. Can he succeed? Obito, wearing a mask, said in a low voice outside the laboratory. Black Zetsu next to him slowly glanced at him, but didn't answer. Success or failure is not too important to Black Zetsu. He has already decided. After Orochimaru's plan is completed, he will directly manipulate the opponent's body to revolving heaven. Live Madara. Project Tsuki no Mi derailed Akatsuki. Only a few of them, AEFH, are left. The rest of them don't know where they went. The door didn't have the intention to regroup. Only revenge is left in his heart. Looking around, Black Zetsu looked confused. It is still the Yin village, but this place has already taken refuge in Konoha very strangely. Even Tanokuni became Konoha's subsidiary country in the sense that the most dangerous place is the safest place. Orochimaru's experiment cannot be interrupted. So he used White Zetsu's changed Ninja Menguin to pass. But every time Konoha's people come to receive information, in order not to arouse suspicion, he can only cooperate fully, which is very troublesome. He raised his head and looked at the sky. The night hadn't completely descended yet, but Black Zetsu stared at the waning moon that showed only a trace. What happened? There must be something wrong with the sealed mother. In the Infinite Tsukuyomi project, will there be an accident due to the main body? He doesn't know about these at all. I don't even know what happened on the moon. Bring a dutiful son. Black Zetsu anxious on the mission of rescuing the mother, but can only watch everything out of control. Anyway, let's check it out when Chunin takes the exam. Slowly, Black Zetsu said, there is nothing they can do right now. Revive Uchiha Madara. Obito looked a little unnatural and stroked his chest. Madara treats him as a pawn. He knows this. He didn't intend to use revolving heaven on Madara's body, and he didn't even want to resurrect Madara. He replaced Madara's name and has fully integrated into the role. I don't want to create a world with 2 rulers. A world does not need 2 rulers. But even Madara can't control me. I squeezed my heart to reveal a body full of white Zetsu. Obito's 3-hook jade turned slightly. The spell originally cast by Madara, after being hung up by Yi Bajian's terrifying attack for the first time, has already disappeared. He is not Madara's pawn. Night fell. In Midarashi's yard, Yingyanian's girls have returned to their room to sleep. Only Bajian and Shion lean together, watching the meteors passing by from time to time in the sky. The special feeling you can only have by Shion's side. The girl who was defeated by her own sword when she was young has grown up. It was still the soft purple hair sprinkled on Bajian's shoulders. There is a seal mark on the forehead that would not exist before. 100 healings mark she has learned. In fact, it's a problem if you don't know how to learn. In the original book, Sakura can master the seal technique. Why can't Yuyan not be the master? Her talent is not bad, she is just thinking about kendo. It is her dream to become a female swordsman following Bajian. This dream, Bajian said, will help her realize it in the future. So for the time being, her talent can be placed elsewhere. Do you want to take a bath? A meteor in the sky passed by. Bajian lowered his head and looked at the woman in his arms, gradually getting closer to her face. Listen to you. Putting aside the girl's timidity, Xian's breathing is very close to Bajian's. I don't want to go, lazy. Suddenly stood up, grabbed Xian's waist and walked to the room. The backs of the two slowly disappeared under the waning moon. Soon after, well, the feeling that the heart is connected to the heart. It belongs to Bajian's own experience, a unique taste. Dog men and women. The soundproofing effect of Midarashi's house is average, and Tsunade, who happened to live in after eating and drinking, is right next to Yuyan's room. Holding the quilt, the angry old woman squirted a curse at the wall next to him. But now she has no reason to rush into the bar, and the car has already started to speed up. I am afraid I am only embarrassed when I go in. According to that man's temper, I am afraid that she must be treated as well. Huh. He took out his hand from the quilt and looked at it. In the end, Tsunade seemed to fall into the distress that Bajian and Yue Xian went to Tongchen on that day. The self-control of the old woman. After giving himself a slap in the face, Tsunade slammed his head against the wall and fainted. It's fine if you can't hear it. The old woman just wants a good night's sleep. As for where to put that hand, it's not easy to say. What sound? Bajian asked, puzzled. Master next door. After experiencing the disturbance caused by the legendary character, Konoha Kenpachi's personal assessment, Konoha again. It became calm again. However, as the honorary instructor of Konoha Shinobi School, the third-generation Sarutobi Hiruzen can see that the unqualified students who were personally brushed down by Yi Bajian, not only did not learn negatively, but also worked harder. There is no trace of discouragement. Yi Bajian. Hokage is not Hokage. This sentence was used to describe Minato and Sarutobi Hiruzen. But at this moment, it is the most appropriate adjective to put it on that man. The atmosphere in the village is very peaceful and peaceful. But this calmness finally changed after an invitation letter flew out of Konoha. Is Chunin taking an exam? It's finally the day. Thunder Country Cloud Shinobi Village Raikage with one arm patted the table and excitedly picked up the invitation letter placed on it. Konoha invites all known ninja villages to take the Chunin exam, the largest in history. All ninja villages can bring genin to participate in the assessment. If the assessment is successful, they will be promoted to Chunin. The Chunin exam itself is not very attractive, especially the competition between Danin villages. Sometimes you will not participate in the invitation letter. But this time is different. The few big ninja villages responded immediately, and even their shadows said that they would definitely come to Konoha in person. Watch the ceremony. Undoubtedly, this Chunin exam attracted enough attention. The small and medium-sized ninja village did not have the courage to refuse, while the Da ninja village wanted to see how Konoha's new generation performed. What? To infer what happened after the terrifying man died. Ninja World, once again lively. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 172 Master Bajian is also genin. Master Tsunade, what are you? Konoha, Midarashi's home. Early in the morning, the full-time maid, Wooden Golem, looked at Tsunade coming out of the room suspiciously. It was the first time I found out that Tsunade-sama could get up so early. This is when Tsunade can't be dealt with by ordinary medical ninjas. Tsunade is already on the right track in the Kaminoba Medical Department. As a minister, you don't have to go to the battle to treat injuries yourself. Unless it is the kind of intractable disease, the value of Konoha village. She is a veritable last life guarantee. So under normal circumstances, she would sleep until noon and then go to the medical department to check in to see if nothing happened. If there is no case that requires her to take action, she will go directly to the casino to have fun. The reform of the medical department has been implemented, and the other Tsunade has no feelings, but she is a medical forebearer. The treatment of the people has increased several times. Bajian attaches great importance to the welfare of medical ninjas, which makes Tsunade very satisfied. In the past, the meager salary was not enough to do anything, but now she, as the medical minister, always. The money allocated every quarter is a large number. Even Bajian agreed to let her advance her salary. The reason is simple, the money she earns will definitely go to the casino to squander. And the master behind those casinos was originally Bajian. So, this matter is well understood. Tsunade took the salary Bajian gave her, and then went to the casino to send the salary back, and then Bajian. I'm sending it to her. The benefits are naturally taken up by Bajian. Well, this is a virtuous circle. Tsunade also got great satisfaction in his heart. It's a win-win situation. However, Tsunade, whose gambling luck is bumpy, has been paid 10 years later. The lazy old woman suddenly got up early, so it's okay for the little cat to have some doubts. I want to change the room. Tsunade, with dark circles under her eyes, was exhausted. Glancing at the next room, is that kid still a person? If she heard it right, she used her precious land 100 healings mark last night. What are you doing? It's not so exciting to create new life. Gone. The angry Tsunade hasn't rested for several days, and even can't fall asleep during the day. After tossing like this, she might really become a veritable old woman. For the sake of the body, this transparent room can only come to an end temporarily. Is that so? Blinking from wooden golem, she didn't know the roots and asked if she had a maid's consciousness as a maid, and she could probably guess why Tsunade changed the room. Well, the master's fighting power is terrible. Conan, the maid, second generation, has a deep understanding of this. Oh, early. Just as the two were talking, the door of the room was pushed open, and Bajian came out lazily. Morning, your uncle. With his fists tightly, Tsunade couldn't wait to punch the bastard. This guy must be deliberate, especially after I knew that my room was next to me. It was even more exaggerated. Calm down. Old women will get more wrinkles if they are angry. Bajian breathed and patted Tsunade's cheek, then blinked at her. Old woman. Old woman again. Tsunade was completely angry, and just wanted to have a good fight with Bajian, but he didn't know that the kid ran away one step ahead of time. The old woman's self-control is indeed very strong. In the end, that hand was still useless. Shaking his head, Bajian walked towards Konoha's training ground. Minato greeted him the other day. The invitation letter for the Chunin exam has been sent to the major ninja villages. Genins who take the exam will come to Konoha one after another. First ninja village need to have the majesty and tolerance of the first ninja village. Even Genin has to show his toughness. So in order to improve the combat effectiveness of the Genins, Minato wants Bajian to give some pointers on Konohas. Shinobi. For Bajian, this is not hard work, but a good opportunity to observe the 12 small strong. The Chunin exam is very strict. In the original work, a total of 87 people participated in the Konoha side. In the end, only Shikamaru became Chunin and the others. Eliminate all. And now, the new Konoha village is developing very fast, and the number of participants will only be greater than before. Coupled with the huge number of ninja villages invited, it is estimated that the pressure on the cow test will increase accordingly. The focus is still Konoha 12 Xiaoqiang, not that Bajian is eccentric. The ability of these people to survive the Fourth Ninja World War is enough to show their strength. As for Neji, it was purely a plot to stimulate Naruto to stand up again. Bajian, and Hinata. The protagonist who doesn't know what to say but does what he says, always needs someone to stand up and dedicate himself at the critical moment. At the entrance of the training ground, Minato beckoned to Bajian, then glanced at himself ambiguously. His apprentice also has Hinata next to him. The news that this guy is going home with Hinata has spread. I just don't know if my disciple can be cruel to toss. He's only 12 years old, get up so early? With a frown, Bajian leaned against the tree next to Minato, and Hinata stood beside him and waited. Stay. To be reasonable, Hokage doesn't need to be so busy. Especially after he returned to the village, he specially planned a new executive team. Unless it is a necessary major event, it does not need to be handled by Hokage himself. This is to make Minato less talk about him and prepare him as 5th Hokage, so as to appropriately reduce the pressure on Hokage. Even if he is Hokage, he can do other things in the future. No way, I've been used to it for so many years. Minato scratched his head and handed the document held in his hand to Bajian. After taking the file and looking at it, it recorded the details of Shinobu who went to Konoha to take the exam this time. There are still some ninja village news that has not been returned, and this document is sure to go to Konoha to participate. The 5 ninja villages are naturally listed, and Konoha is not something those people can resist. In addition to the 5 great ninja villages, there are also ninja villages that make Bajian feel novel. For example, Ninja Village, Star Ninja Village, Snow Ninja Village and so on. In the end, he fixed his gaze on a little-known Little Shinobu Village. Yin Village? It really came, you said this? Minato leaned over and took a look. Belonging to Tanokuni, our people just went to the same place. I was conscious of the conditions, and there was no resistance or surprise at all, and it was a bit strange that it went smoothly. You know? More than just knowing. Bajian closed the file and smiled weirdly. Do you know the village built by Orochimaru? Orochimaru? Konoha S-class rebel. Minato was taken aback, and then became serious. Can you be sure? Send someone directly to the Yin village to confront? No, he will come to Konoha himself to die. This time Orochimaru had a chance to enter Konoha dignifiedly, and I don't know if he would choose to pretend to be Luosha. Bajian shook his head. Ms. Minato, don't tell too many people about this, I'd like to see. Why does he dare to come? What is his confidence? Is he Bajian unable to handle the knife, or is his Orochimaru floating? I want to ask about that in person. Yes, you don't need to be afraid of having Bajian. Minato nodded, and now the words his apprentice said had been completely fulfilled. With me, Konoha is the first ninja village. What a word from Haki. But now it has become a reality in front of you. Konoha is the well-deserved #1 Shinobu village. No matter what kind of conspiracy and tricks cannot be displayed in Konoha, this is Minato's letter as Hokage. In addition to Yin village, there are still a few people worthy of attention. For example, the incense phosphorus from Grass Ninja village would be pretty good if she left Kushina as a company. Orochimaru can pay attention and let Anbu's people stare at them when they come. After returning the file to Minato, Bajin yawned. Also, Mrs. Minato. It's not long before the Chunin exam race. I can teach them only limited, others. Not much to say. The only thing I can exercise is their will. In this world, not everyone has Naruto's open and hanging cultivation ability. After all, they. Not the protagonist. In a short period of time, if you want to improve your fighting power, it is absolutely impossible not to have a good father. This is obvious from the time Bajin trained Anbu. At first he thought Anbu would be effective in 1 month by finding the right way, but he could finally get it out. It's been half a year. This is the gap without a good surname. Combat effectiveness cannot be improved in a short period of time. Take Sakura. What role did she play in the 4th Ninja War? It's not that she doesn't practice hard to ridicule her, but that this is a world of fighting fathers. The key point: Sakura always has the illusion that she is getting closer and closer to Naruto and Sasuke. This is probably because she has hit infinite Tsukuyomi ahead of time. So what Bajin can give to them is only that tenacious will, which is inherited by Konoha. Will of fire. With this will, even if you fail the exam, you won't be too salty. Scratching his head, Minato was a little embarrassed. Remember the Deidara you brought back from outside, and Kaki Kisame? No, they submitted an application for the Chunin exam. Let them not take it? This is indeed a question. Since Deidara came to Konoha, she has become the younger brother of Nine Tails. Own art. And Kisame has been mixing in Anbu, and he has made a lot of credit for Konoha. But these two are indeed real genin levels. Agree, are you still afraid of them messing around? Bajin said casually. Now, after agreeing, a new problem appeared. After swallowing, Minato stretched out his finger and nodded the Konoha shinobi forehead protector Bajin wrapped around his arm. My dear apprentice, you seem to have forgotten one thing. Since you graduated, you have never taken the Chunin exam. So, you are genin too. Is that so? After thinking about it carefully, it seemed that Bajin really realized. After graduation, I relied on the southern and northern wars. After fighting this village and fighting another village, I will enjoy people after returning. I just sat down and went to the moon to absorb the golden wheel Tensigen, and tossed through all the spaces in the heavenly palace. To be precise, he is indeed a genin. Difficult. As an anime fanatic, Bajin has always believed in one sentence. Jonin fights pots and pans, genin fights genin clearly overtakes jonin. The problem was obvious. Minato let him make his own mind. Probably just to ask Bajin if he wants to be shameless. Reported, I'll go play. After thinking for a while, Bajin finally smiled kindly. Bullying people. It's not uncommon to have participated in the Chunin exam at the 6 paths level in the original work. Didn't Naruto lick her face in the last time? This answer is something I didn't expect as a master. Minato was helpless and put a checkmark on Bajin's document. Master Bajin also took the Chunin exam. Hinata, who has been standing next to him, is completely stunned. This who can beat him? Why isn't Big Brother coming yet? In the training ground, Naruto sat on the ground boredly and sighed. Calm down, Master is with his family. It's normal to be late. Sasuke leaned against his subordinate and stroked a brand new knife. According to the Master, this knife does not have a name. If it insists on the name, what is the sealed state? But Sasuke feels a bit awkward, always thinking of a special name but has no idea. Of course, don't look at this knife, but it's more important to him. This is a gift from Master to myself after graduation. And when he first got it, he felt very special, even better than the Kodachi he had used before. Have to take advantage of it. Especially this feeling of being connected makes him fall in love with it even more. Cut. The ass is up, don't you just give you a knife? What's the show? Naruto sneered at the two with disdain, but the envy in his eyes was seen by others. Come out. It's a pity, he doesn't know how to use it. But his forehead protector was brought by the elder brother himself. Daisy stroked a genin forehead protector. Naruto smirked. And I heard that the eldest brother is still preparing the gift, and it won't be worse than the pillar by then. At this moment, 2 figures in the distance came over. After seeing it clearly, everyone whispered. Without him, Bajin came by holding Hinata's hand, and it was normal to cause a commotion. Unconsciously letting go of Hinata, Bajin jumped onto the high platform. I won't talk too much nonsense, everyone is good at different things, but if I'm going to exhaust myself these days. Do everything you can to help you improve yourself, but I don't teach the worthless waste, and Konoha doesn't need such a person to be. Ninja. So, let me see your courage. Holding his shoulders and looking down, Genin felt pretty good looking at it. Wave. Huh. The light of the knife flashed, and hundreds of peculiar knives fell from the air. People who are not determined at this moment turn around and run away, fearing that they will be attacked. After a few seconds, the knives fell in front of them. And the man on the stage stretched out his fingers to the ninjas who were running away. From the moment they turned around, they had lost the opportunity to be a ninja. I didn't have the courage to face the attack, and even leaped his back to the enemy in front of him. Such people are not worthy of being a ninja, this moment. The audience was solemn. Has the special training from Konoha Kenpachi already begun? But why is the gentleness of the man in front of him completely different from that of the previous graduation examination? If you think about it, you will know that the graduation assessment is an assessment that motivates younger generations, but today's special training is for Konoha's face. Boggy Kabuto Village, troublesome, Shikamaru sighed and explained it to Ino next to him by the way. Is that so? Ino gritted his teeth and stared at Idara Shikamaru unexpectedly and firmly picked up the knife in front of him. Swing 5000, start, and the next sentence of that man directly made the Genins desperate. 7. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 173. Please remember before making trouble, this is Konoha. Not everyone has Bajian's physical fitness. After the knife swing training was completed, the Genins were slumped to the ground and exhausted. It was only the first day, so some people couldn't hold back the amount of training. But what makes Bajian gratified? Konoha 12 Xiaoqiang finally persisted. Do you know why you don't have the talent for swordsmanship? Do I let you swing a knife? Having disbanded, Bajian asked while sitting next to Naruto who was resting. Not understand well. Naruto scratched his head, but the practice that the eldest brother asked to do must be based on the eldest brother's reason. The conversation between the two also attracted Genin's attention. The Xiaoqiangs who were about to leave stopped one after another, pricked their ears and listened. Really? For ninjas, this kind of swordsmanship training is even worse than practicing shuriken several times. In addition to exercise the strength of the arm, Saping does not have much other substantial improvement. And for those ninjas who have family secret skills, this kind of knife training is even more dispensable. After all, there are not a few Konoha who can practice swordsmanship, let alone the famous ninja world. The previous Konoha's white fang teeth, plus the current Konoha Kenpachi. Only them. Now, Konoha Kenpachi-sama seems to want to reveal the purpose of this cultivation consciously or unconsciously. Will. Put one hand on Naruto's head and hold Sasuke with the other hand. Bajian spit out 2 words. Will. The 2 words given by Bajian made Xiaoqiang think. Do one thing repeatedly, as a test of a person's will. This kind of will is the most powerful partner in times of desperation, and it is also a tenacious belief in saving oneself and one's companions. Just like now. Pinching Sasuke's neck with one hand, the 8-9-2 sword looked at Naruto calmly. Imagine me as an enemy. Your companion has been caught at this moment and will die at any moment, and you have exhausted all chakra and have no strength. Will you choose to give up, or fight for your life to slap that crucial knife? The companion was caught, and he was exhausted. Whether it can play a key unity of assistance, how to do it. At this time, what supports oneself to swing a knife is the will that the elder brother said? Loosen the second pillar and Bajian sits down again. It's up to Naruto to understand it. Because of his own existence, this child has not been squeezed out since childhood, and no one will appear to be all right. Naruto's face threw a stone. In school, he is not the tail of the crane either. Can such a Naruto possess the spirit of not giving up like the original book? Bajian doesn't know about this. For Naruto and Sasuke's future path, Bajian can only use his own. A little bit of guidance on your own method. Again, they're not Ashura and Indra but Uzumaki, Naruto and Uchi from Konoha village. How Sasuke chooses depends on them. Although I still don't understand what the eldest brother said, if someone wants to kill Sasuke. Even if I don't have strength, I will change strength. I will definitely protect my companions. Naruto suddenly spoke with his fist companion. Do you understand it a little bit? Bajian nodded in relief. Some people do have their own personal charm when they get serious. In addition to the yellow hair inherited from Lil Sun, there is also this kind of warmth. There are many types of temperament, will, guardian, fighting, etc. As long as you have one of them, then you will be a ninja in the future. Some achievements will be made. Before awakening that kind of will, swinging a knife is a way of tempering, when you are in desperation. Think about why the knife in your hand cannot be held firmly, and think about the things that need to be guarded behind you. That's all. Patting Naruto on the shoulder, Bajian stood up and walked towards Hinata. Go home. Holding each other's small hands, the two turned and walked out of the training ground. The days of special training continue. This time Bajian chose to be a guide. Anyway, there is still some time before the exam. Sasuke and Naruto. The selection of individual characteristics is done after the written test. Ms. Minato, no matter how you look at it, it is most appropriate to be Naruto and Sasuke instructing Jonin. It should be the Shao. Inside the Naruto office, Kakashi looked at the list in his hand with some confusion. As Anbu's elite has completely controlled those small countries, the mission of the Night Owl team has become idle. Get up. Based on the principle of not wasting, Minato intends to let the members of the Night Owl team be the guide Jonin. And Kakashi, in charge of the first class. Uzumaki Naruto, Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura. Squinting his eyes, Kakashi feels that no matter what angle you look at, if Haruno Sakura is replaced by Hinata, it seems more reasonable. Without ancestry, wouldn't it be stressful to work hard in the 7th class? Of course, this is not the point. The point is that he thinks Bajian is the most suitable person to guide this class. He can't run. The title of the new Genin General Director is reserved for him. You usually have to hold on. He has the final say on what tasks to perform and how to train and cooperate. Minato shook his head. Because special training subjects were suddenly added, the specific placement process has been dragging on until yesterday. Minato just picked the right person select. Moreover, 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen specially came to Minato, not for other things, but I feel that Asuma, who returned to Konoha some time ago, still doesn't understand what Konoha's jade is, so I think he will be the guy Jonin has traveled outside for so many years, and even Asuma, who has chosen to become the guardian of Shinobu, has matured a lot, too. Giving up the thought of Red and thinking about what Konoha's jade is, and what he wants to protect Dong's request for 3rd generation, Minato chose to give him this face. After all these years in the ninja school 3. The generation is very conscientious. The final division is finally confirmed. As for the reason why it's different from the classification immediately after graduating from the original book, it's also because of the ninja school. The courses are heavy, and it is inevitable to relax after graduation. So a long time ago, a new rule was established. After graduation, there is a 1-month holiday. The purpose is, it is for them to better meet ninjaya. After the division is completely completed, they will form a small team to perform the task. General Director Genin. Kakashi's mouth twitched. What kind of job is this? Well, after Bajian's special training is over, the 7th class is officially established. According to your idea, it is. Minato nodded and looked out the window. Outside, there is a great view of this village. Konoha has been given a new look. I don't know if people from other villages will be surprised when they come to Konoha. Tenten passed. Genins wield knives tirelessly with the figure they looked up. Finally, the half-month special training is over. Bajian doesn't know if they have learned the principle of perseverance in the past 2 months and the will to not give up even when exhausted, but he has done everything he can. It's obviously not Bajian's expertise to bring children, and he's not interested in it either. As for in the future, no matter where it develops, there will be professional process training in various departments. It is not him. Work. As the deadline for registration for the Chunin exam is approaching, contestants from the major ninja villages have also come to Konoha one after another. On this day, Konoha Village Mouth 3 strangely dressed ninjas walked in slowly. Sand Shinobi Big 3, Gaara, Kanlang, and Tamari. Feng Ying hadn't arrived yet, and their departure time was slightly earlier. Boom. At the corner, Naruto and his newly recognized younger brother Konohamaru chased from the corner. Unfortunately, Konohamaru ran into the big black man with the puppet on his back. Oh, where's the kid? Kankuro grinned, his face deliberately pretending to be cruel, making Sasuke on the tree want to smile. He, Naruto, and Sakura just finished the bell-robbing activity from Konoha tradition, and they have nothing to do. I plan to observe those ninjas taking the Chunin exam at the entrance of the village. Holding Konohamaru's neck with one hand and lifting it up into the air, Kankuro's wisdom can't seem to tell that the surrounding atmosphere has become weird, and even the eyes of people looking at him are full of playfulness and ridicule. Who wants to beat Konoha in Konoha? Kankuro, don't make trouble. And just when Kankuro wanted to do something, Tamari behind him suddenly walked over. I'm just playing around. Kankuro smiled and squeezed Konohamaru's arm, suddenly trying to force. Konoha Anal Fissure Cyclone. Boom. With an angry shout, a green figure appeared behind Kankuro instantly, and his big one. Kick your feet fiercely into the other side's door. Red, yellow and some unknown liquids fly into the air and finally fall on the ground. Kanlilong, who was clamoring just now, has fainted. Upgraded version of Konoha Rigid Cyclone. Konoha Anal Fissure Whirlwind. In many duels with Kakashi, Guy, who was defeated by Kakashi using 1,000 Years of Death, finally had an epiphany. And this trick is understood and mastered from 1,000 Years of Death. No one can make trouble in Konoha. He stretched his thumb to the ground and stunned. Guy's big white fang made Tamari back a few in horror. This person must not provoke him if he slams into the wall. That kick. She firmly believes that she can kick out a single ending. No doubt, Kankuro must be cracked. Konoha. The sand surged and Kankuro's body was caught in the air. A young man with dark red hair and the word love written on his forehead slowly walked over. Judging from his angry face, his heart must be full of dry intentions at the moment. Chula Zero. As if grabbing the backbone, Tamari quickly withdrew behind Gaara. She did say not to make trouble just now, but it was Kankuro who was beaten in the end. Kill you. The sand was surging, and Gaara, who was not alive and dead, reached out to Guy. Sand bondage. It's murderous. Who is King Guy? The man who almost kicked the finale. How strong his strength is, you can see some clues from Xiao Li, who inherited his physical skills. At the moment when the sand-bound Hazel was about to be involved in his body, Guy's body disappeared and the next moment came directly to my love. Luo in front of him squeezed his neck with one hand and smashed him into the ground, and then the vacant head greeted Gaara's face without money. The candidate's guide is clearly written, boom. Konoha village is not allowed to fight or fight. Boom. Don't cause trouble. Boom. No. After a full 20-odd lifts, Guy finally let go of the opponent and stood up again, looking at Joe already dumbfounded. Make trouble. Nasty your mother. They slammed you Konoha Shinobi's neck, just picked it up and didn't do anything, you are stiff. Then they want to fight back and kill them directly? Who dares to make trouble? The ninjas clutched their hips and shook their heads. Who dares this Konoha? Hey! Temari stared blankly at the pit on the ground, and then cautiously leaned over. Something entertaining made her run back like crazy. It's over, that thing came out, what the hell? Guy looked at it suspiciously. Oh, my mother, my eyes. What is this, creepy monster? Shuhei One-Tail of San Shinobi Village, if nothing else, he would be One-Tail Jinchuriki of San Shinobi Village. At this moment, with the sound of running, the Uchiha patrol team in charge of public security in the village finally rushed. And Fugaku's eyes quickly turned the three-hooked jade, and finally formed the unique Mangekyo. Be quiet, Shuhei, hum, the pupil power started. The monster that had just gotten up the next moment instantly retracted into Gaara's body. On the ground, only two brothers were left unconscious. Gala and Konkuro. Take them to the rest area, remembering that this is Konoha, and the only thing to do is death. After warning Temari, Fugaku bowed to Guy. I am negligent in my duty, and we will strengthen our vigilance later. This kind of thing happens on one side. Guy didn't say anything, just nodded to Fugaku with his thumb, and then turned away. Everyone, please remember before making trouble, this is Konoha. We have our own way of hospitality, but we will not tolerate any troublemakers. Looking around, Fugaku finally gestured to the Uchiha guard behind him. Dispersed instantly and opened a new round of concealed patrols. Ms. Guy is amazing. The Fugaku Patriarch is also majestic. At the end of 2.4, Naruto's eyes brightened after returning to his senses. Maybe what he wants to be is such a person, a recognized person. Sasuke didn't say a word, he had only worship in his eyes, who had been watching his father from the tree. A look can calm the monster down. This is the Uchiha clan. This is Konoha. When the storm passed, Konoha village suddenly ushered in a few special teams. The shadow of the four ninja villages, and their entourage. It seemed that it had been agreed that they came to Konoha together. But when they stood at the entrance of Konoha village, they were completely stunned. You tell me, this is Konoha? Onoki opened his mouth and looked stiffly at the granddaughter black soil next to him. Although I have heard that Konoha has undergone earth-shaking changes, but since the last time Konoha came to apologize. This development speed is too fast, right? It's Konoha. Reikage sighed, looking at the bustling street a little enviously, with a real smile on his face. Wrong's villagers, it has expanded the area several times. Standing at the door, you can only see the tip of the iceberg inside. Suddenly I felt that the proposal made by the big surname was not so easy to complete, so. Konoha, is it really that easy to collapse? Terumi Mei laughed suddenly, and told some secrets about why they appeared together. Master Fengying. Your son was beaten. Just when the shadows were shocked by the development speed of Konoha, a figure suddenly ran over. He is a striker from San Shinobi village who came to Konoha with Temari. My son? Who? Luo Sha frowned. Both were beaten, Konkuro's anal fissure was hit hard, and his face was ruined. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 174 Konoha collapsed? About to start? What information do you want to report? It's late at night. Konoha, in a room in a high-end lounge area. Bajian sat on his knees with Erlang's legs upturned, and the woman on his lap felt like, man, you have become more attractive than when you were Kirigakure that year. Hang on your body like a snake, and keep your posture on it with him. Terumi Mei breathed slightly, and grabbed Bajian's hand. Don't worry, at least listen to me a few words. Before reporting to you, as Mizukage, I want to reach a battle line with the future Naruto. Relationship. A more intimate relationship than attachment. Water and fire can't get along with each other, but I seem to have found a way to merge with each other. The hot feeling of lava style on her body slowly hits. I like men who don't melt, if you can. Kirigakure is the dowry. Terumi Mei erased lava style and got close again. Woman, do you know the consequences? Turning over to declare sovereignty, Bajian's pupils revealed a breathtaking light. Delivered to your door. Is there a reason to give up? He also wants to know whether Mizukage is really as the name suggests. Mizukage, here is a single word for water. I want to try the consequences of what you said. Well, huh? Did you use lava style like that? Yes, something Terumi Mei. What's wrong with you Mizukage? In the lounge room far away from the rooms of Bajian and Terumi Mei, the third Tsuchikage Onoki, fourth generation Shadow Eye, and fourth Cascade Rosa with a pale face are sitting there. But Mizukage's position was actually replaced by Mizukage's guard. Ching, who had truly lost one eye, became a Cyclops, but his strength was pretty good, and it was nothing to be a guard. But what made the other movies angry was that they agreed to discuss whether the plan with the surname was successful and formulate a strategy. But when it's time, Mizukage didn't come, and only sent a guard over to perfuse. Master Mizukage is unacceptable and has fallen asleep. Ching said calmly, but please rest assured, Master Mizukage said, O4 will cooperate with you depending on the situation. Obviously it is perfunctory, but also cooperate. Oyemu snorted and didn't speak. Forget it, don't wait for her. Luo Sha hugged her shoulders and took a deep breath. In fact, I think we have many ways to choose whether we are successful or not. The point is that the other 4 ninja villages are not united except Konoha. Onoki said coldly. Not united. I glanced at Onogi and stroked his chin with one hand. That's like nails inserted around us. Has it been included by Konoha? Everyone, the little shinobu villages you control around. The sooner you pull it out, the better. The situation in the 4 ninja villages is the same. Konoha has even taken control of the only way they leave their country. What did you mean by unity just now? Luo Sha looked at Onogi with some interest. For the first time, they had a common enemy, not the kind of intrigue cooperation, but the kind of concerted effort that really wanted to bring down the leader. Whether he succeeds or not, it can be classified into the following points. Onoki grows strong, and the hatred for Konoha buried in his heart after a few years of cultivation makes him even more tempted, but the more this time, the more sober he is as Tsuchikage. First, he didn't succeed. We stood still. It didn't hurt us at all. It was just a farce. Gong. Second, he still did not succeed, but his plan caused a heavy blow to Konoha. At that time, if we worked together to put pressure on Konoha. Third, he was still unsuccessful, but he killed the kid named Yi Bajian. After a pause, only hatred remained in Onoki's eyes. The tail beast of 9 tails, please accept it. This is the most ridiculous sentence he has survived in his life. Looking back at that moment, Iwagakure almost turned into ashes. He will not forget the heartbreaking feeling. That time, Iwagakure died too many people, and he will not forget how he humiliated Konoha's meritoriously wall. Whenever there is a chance, he must seize it. In the end, if he succeeds, not only will he kill the kid, but the village will also collapse, but this last point is basically impossible. Look at the signal of the old man, you must seek the greatest benefit. What the old man expects is the second and third possible things. After speaking in one breath, Onoki looked at Reikage. The relationship between Iwagakure and Cloud Shinobi Village has always been tense, but now it is time for Reikage to express his opinions. In his view, the winds of Sand Shinobi Village and Kirigakure are just a foil to the plan. I agree with you. Kage glanced at Onogi and nodded. In fact, this was something he and Azabui had determined. Unexpectedly, Oyemu is always getting older and so clear-headed. Are you sure that person has no chance of success? Luosha is a little bit confused. His performance of that man in the past has been rumored. He was indeed soft to Konoha at the end of the Third Ninja War, and like Onoki, he came to Konoha to apologize. But he just didn't want the country of wind to become the country of earth. Just unite so many forces, why are you not confident at all? Unless first Hokage is resurrected, there will be no chance. Reikage said with great certainty, and after looking at his broken arm, he shook his head. That man's horrible knife is enough to tear his lightning-style armor. No, I don't even think that even if first generation is resurrected, it won't be that kid's opponent. Onoki frowned and said, unlike Luo Sha, he and Reikage had really seen the horror of that man. After so many years, he has grown from a kid to a real man, no one knows how strong he is. It depends on the situation at that time, don't take it rashly. Reikage's side originally came to Konoha, just want to observe Konoha's new generation combat effectiveness. Unexpectedly, someone really dared to take the opportunity to do things. The big name? Can you just say Orochimaru? In Terumi Mei's room, Terumi Mei, who was previously arrogant, was lying on the couch. Bajian asked calmly while drinking. How to say? As expected of Orochimaru, Konoha's collapse plan almost really collapsed in the original book. Originally, Bajian was a little surprised after seeing Luosha as himself. He didn't expect that Snake Shanyu would find the shadow of the 4 ninja villages a step ahead of time and talked about his plan. According to Orochimaru's idea, as long as you give the 4 big ninja villages some thoughts, and then see Konoha becoming confused, you will definitely take the opportunity to take action. This plan is perfect, and even Orochimaru doesn't worry about anyone leaking information to Konoha. As for the reason, it is easy to guess. The so-called 5 great ninja villages have long existed in name only. Everyone knows that now the entire ninja world is dominated by the Konoha family. And the 4 ninja villages can't breathe under the pressure of Konoha, they are eager for Konoha's accident. Therefore, even if they knew about Konoha's plan at this juncture, they would never tell Konoha. The interests between Shinobu and Shinobu are the most important. As long as they can obtain benefits, they will also unite. Even Orochimaru knew that Kirigakure was actually the Konoha master, and dared to find Terumi Mei. Because in his opinion, Kirigakure is absolutely unwilling to become Konoha's subsidiary forever. If the time is right, it is affirmative. So he even thinks that the one who supports the plan most is Terumi Mei. Unfortunately, he miscalculated. As soon as Mizukage arrived at Konoha on the first night, he asked the future 5th Hokage to come to the room for an in-depth exchange, and none of the hair that had been sold by Orochimaru was left. Terumi Mei is not stupid. Indeed, Kirigakure didn't want to escape Konoha's control for a lifetime. Konoha is very strong, that's for sure. But reversal is not without chance. But she prepared a two-handed plan. Give yourself, and give Kirigakure as a bet. If he wins, even if Kurigakure becomes a subsidiary in the future, his status will be much higher than that of other shinobu villages. After losing, Kurigakure will not be implicated in the future thanks to the friendship she and Yi Bajian have discussed in depth, and it will even allow the villagers to live a better life. So she sold those people decisively. Who knows if he is real Orochimaru? Anyway, the big name is correct. Terumi Mei leaned in Bajian's arms lazily. Now, as Mizukage, my sincerity is enough. Then you don't lose the chain, but even if Konoha is really ruined, then I will take you to Kurigakure, and you will be my people. Click. Holding Terumi Mei's chin, the man laughed. Seeing you being so honest, then I will tell you one thing too. Do you think I really didn't know that Orochimaru had an idea about Konoha? Or do you think we don't know the trace of Orochimaru? I know exactly how many jins of his Otoyan village are. He knows. Terumi Mei was surprised, and finally shook his head and gave a wry smile. Is there anything he doesn't know in the world? Then why don't you just kill him? But what puzzled her was, since she knew, why did she let the other party come to Konoha? Shouldn't everything that might threaten Konoha's existence be eliminated? Do you think Konoha is very fragile? How big a storm can be upset by mere Orochimaru? And I just think it's time to play with him before completing the complete reunification. While speaking, Bajian leaned close to Terumi Mei's face, and I'm really curious about how he will please me then. How to Quiyu you? Terumi Mei's body trembled slightly. He can't. Use himself like a concubine. Continue. Konoha's night is always so charming. For Bajian, the arrival of Orochimaru really made him full of expectations. He never thought Orochimaru was a stupid person. How could the kind of person who prepared countless ways of longevity for himself accidentally make preparations? But the more this happened, the more he wondered what kind of meal the other party had prepared for Konoha. Is it just the impure world reincarnation of first generation and second generation? That's too despising myself. Even Bajian is extremely determined. If only those two exist, he doesn't even need to act. You know, Konoha at this moment is not the extremely weak ninja village in the original book. At that time Konoha, Sannin all left the village, Minato died in battle, White Fang committed suicide, Uchiha. In this case, the only people who really fought for the village were Kakashi and others, and third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. Even Danzo didn't make a move. Of course, in the middle, Jiraiya came back to teach Naruto summoning technique, but he didn't participate in the crucial battle and watched the duel between Orochimaru and Sarutobi Hiruzen from a distance. 387 Can the four purple flame array really stop Jiraiya? Bajian couldn't stop it, but he did not interrupt the duel between the two. It can only be said that Konoha was already weak to a certain extent at that time, so Orochimaru was able to successfully launch the Konoha collapse plan. But that is the original. Konoha is now full of talents. High-end combat power is even more powerful and scary. Not to mention Bajian himself, Minato has already been recognized by Nine Tails. As long as you call Master Nine Tails, you can turn on the golden body mode and evolve into a real golden flash. In addition, why would Orochimaru dare to attack Konoha by picking a tough ninja who can cause wind and waves in the ninja at random? Shisui, Itachi, Fugaku. This is the three pairs of Mangekyo Sharingan. What do you use to play the three Gundams? Konoha collapsed. Want to fart. So, what exactly is Orochimaru's whole card? This made Bajian very curious. As for Iwagakure, Sand Shinobi Village, and Cloud Shinobi Village, they are still taking part in the assessment. Fortunately, if there is a slight change, he will take this opportunity to unify the 5 countries. Although it was a little earlier, don't think he really dare not do it. The atmosphere in Terumi Mei's lounge is still warm and harmonious. Early morning. The strange-looking team at Konoha Village approached slowly. Yinyan Village. Picking up the invitation letter and looking at it, Kabelko Ziti and Shenyu Izumo raised their heads and scanned the team. A very depressed team. Uniform service, the same gloomy eyes. Well, I am the leader of Yinyan Village and the leader of the negative team. My surname is Big. The ninja standing at the forefront wears a cloak, but looks like a charming woman from his face. Come in. The invitation letter is something that proves your identity. If it's true, the other party is eligible to participate in the assessment. They nodded, and the door god chose to let it go. Stepping into Konoha, the woman raised her head and looked around. Konoha, I'm finally back. Bajian-kun, once you said you wouldn't stay in this village, now it seems that you broke your promise. Let me see the charm of this village. The figure moves forward, and at this moment the picture at the entrance of Konoha freezes. The ninjas behind Orochimaru showed their cold eyes. Kagaya Kimimaro. Yinyan is a crowd of 4. There are also a few dragon ninjas belonging to Otonan village. But these are not important. The person standing behind them is the most depressing. The red hair flicked slightly, the terrible lines in the pupils circle after circle and the fists were tightly clenched. Your hand is the point. Crash plan. About to start. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 175 Konoha, don't you want a face? With the Chunin exam date getting closer, Konoha, which was originally prosperous, became even more lively. In addition to the shock and the prosperity of Konoha, the ninjas of the little ninja village have once again increased their awareness of this first ninja village. Even many ninjas have a feeling of wanting to blend into Konoha. Don't worry about not being able to use your talents. Completely fair environment. Make the best use of everything, everyone can show their abilities. As long as you have talent and work hard, you can definitely prove the value and significance of your existence. No need to think about what you eat tomorrow, because what you eat tomorrow depends entirely on whether you work hard today. This atmosphere of common progress, a scene of unity and harmony. It's a truly amazing job. One of the purposes of the Chunin exam was quietly completed when the ninjas were visiting Konoha scenery. After all, Konoha's methods used to occupy other shinobu villages were rough before, and many people thought it was an extremely cruel village. But after I came, I only understood it by observing it with my eyes. This village is the scene in their dreams. The mindset of the ninjas is changing. Uchiha Madara's name can be engraved on it, I didn't expect it. The most iconic building in Konoha, outside of the Hokage rock on the wall, is the Shuin Wall in the central square. For some reason, when he saw the 4 words Uchiha Madara, Orochimaru had a faint emotion called jealousy in his heart. Uchiha Madara. Konoha pioneer. A few simple words did not conceal Madara's contribution to Konoha. This emotion that shouldn't have appeared made him speak to a man with red hair and a cloak next to him. But obviously, the man had no other idea about Madara's name being engraved, just staring straight at the top, the name Yi Bajian pinched his head. Nagato-kun, please calm down. Squinting his eyes, Orochimaru stood in front of him. It's not time to do it yet, now it's time to do it and let Nagato break out. But Nagato is just one of his pawns. Used alone, it is not good for the plan. Did you find the news about Conan? With a cold snort, Nagato loosened his fist and asked. I found it, but I didn't really want to tell you what I meant. Orochimaru said suddenly in embarrassment. Say it. Nagato was short of breath. She became Bajian-kun's maid, and based on my equivalent perception of being a woman at the moment. It has been used by Bajian-kun, and used it more than once. Ant Snake patted her face and said regretfully, sorry, Bajian-kun is the world of ninja. You know the things, you should have thought of this result before. Quote. I thought she was dead. Nagato gritted his teeth and let out a sigh of relief before finally turning around and leaving. Bajian-kun, the game has begun. Finally, I glanced at the name on the wall of glory contributions, Orochimaru followed Nagato and left Konoha Hiroshi. But what they don't know is that in the distance, Konoha's commanding heights. The two figures are cuddling together. The same long hair, one black and one white. Kagaya and Bajian watched the two jumping clowns go farther and farther. I thought what the trump card was. Bajian calmly looked up to Kagaya, and the corners of his mouth suddenly turned up slightly in disdain to make Kagaya curious. Blink. In them, the concubine felt a very complicated aura. It's really complicated. It looks like Yuya, but not like it. Disorganized. Byakugan. So that's it. Anti-snake. Strong. It's okay if you transgender yourself, what did you put on Nagato's legs? How many other people's cells? Quote. As if seeing something clearly and a little bit spicy, Bajian quickly retracted his vision. Don't feel that the popularity next to Orochimaru is a bit familiar, it turns out that it's Nagato himself. Good guy, his legs are completely healthy. But the genes above have been resisting constantly. At this moment, Nagato has become a monster of a mixture of multiple genes and cells. But, Hashirama cell, even if Orochimaru inherits Danzo's legacy, he can study it carefully. But it's not enough to make 2 legs. Frowning, Bajian suddenly remembered something and closed his eyes. There are so many people in Konoha now, it should be easy to get in. On a small hill a few miles away from Konoha village, 2 people were standing together watching something, and one of them suddenly spoke for a while. Don't worry, let's see what tricks Orochimaru can do at that time. The other shook his head and said he had to wait. Black Zetsu and Obito. It really was them. Bajian suddenly realized. Geto statue can grow Hashirama cells, it turns out they have hooked up together. Obito, Nagato, Orochimaru and Black Zetsu. This 4-person team is a bit interesting. Speaking of which, Black Zetsu really belongs to you. It's too stubborn. Withdraw his gaze. Bajian touched Kagaya's cheek, then tugged at her hair. As for the magical robes she wore only in the Ōtsutsuki clan, Bajian had drilled it over and over several times during the years on the moon, and found nothing weird. And how white and alluring Kagaya is, Bajian also eats thoroughly. There is no place beyond your reach. Here comes the problem. Black Zetsu, who claims to be Kagaya's 3rd child, really is Kagaya's consciousness. Children's words are not counted. It's just a part of the concubine's body consciousness, or it's a technique with self-consciousness. Kagaya shook his head and explained. Consciousness is consciousness, children are children. For the time being, the concubine body hasn't really belonged to the child with flesh and blood. So, husband Master Kun, you have to work hard. While talking about the topic, Kagaya blushed and leaned back in Bajian's arms. But Bajian's attention is not on the child. He is still very young now, so this matter is just fine, and he doesn't need safety measures anyway. It's Black Zetsu, I really need to find some time to have a good chat with him. Infinite Tsukuyomi or something, it's easy for him to launch it, so he doesn't need his name. Daihe-sun worked hard. The way of meeting with Black Zetsu and the subsequent handling of the ninja world, Bajian knows nothing in his mind. Don't worry. Now I'm looking at what other cards Orochimaru has besides the pervert version of Nagato. I'm done with Chunin. After the trial, it was time when the new chapter of the ninja world was completely opened. Look back and show you your eldest son, and it's over if you look at him dumbfounded. Touching Kagaya's face, Bajian gave a weird smile. Konoha's atmosphere continues to rise. Finally, in the eyes of people's expectations, the Chunin exam prologue officially opened. The first round is a written test of theoretical knowledge. Early in the morning, one after another candidates walked into the examination room. As in the original book, before the first round, the entrance to the exam room where I worked overtime with illusions was indeed many candidates, but not including Naruto in the original book. Don't forget, now Isshin wants to surpass Minato and Bajian's Naruto, but is the top student tied with Sasuke. Sakura, who was in the same team with them, seemed quite satisfactory. And for unknown reasons, the relationship between Sasuke and Naruto became a real competition. After the friendship, Naruto had no idea about Sakura. So the status quo of the first class is a bit weird. Under the suppression of the two geniuses, little Sakura could not show his own sense of existence at all. So recently, she was a bit listless, trying to find a way to break through, but couldn't find a way. After Naruto and Sasuke walked upstairs, a green figure suddenly appeared in front of them. Sasuke-kun, Naruto-kun. Huh. The figure stopped. Shaoli politely bowed to the two of them. Some scenes in the original work suddenly appeared. To prove that hard work can surpass genius, Shaoli lists Naruto and Sasuke as his enemies. However, unlike the drama of direct fighting, Shaoli just gave a thumbs up to the three of them. Pointing, and then said a sentence other than to challenge the two in the future, and did not directly do it. The reason is simple. Recently, Mr. Guy has been teaching him to show his cherishment for his companions when he is in front of people from outside the village. Even if you want to fight, it is not here, but in the third round of the duel. 2. Please make sure to enter the third round. Hugging the two of them, Shaoli turned and left, but he politely clicked when passing by Shao Sakura. Click. The thick eyebrows are very strong. I heard that his teacher is Might Guy in the Night Owl, who was at the entrance of the village before. The one I saw. Naruto touched his chin and analyzed. It's very strong. Judging from the walking posture, his legs should be tied. It should be a weight-bearing item. Sharingan on the second pillar has been turned on, and the 6 relatives who walked out when the observer Shaoli left did not recognize. Pace of. And his team is friendly like the genius of the Hyuga branch house, called Hyuga Neji. It is also very good. When the big goth trained us, the one named Hyuga Neji was absolutely fatal. Even if it was over, he would have to practice for an hour. Quote. Naruto said with emotion, many tough opponents. Sasuke suddenly shouted at the second pillar next to him, Naruto's eyes revealed. It's so good. Sasuke. The location of the first round of written examinations is on the second floor. After the three of them came up, they pushed the door in and felt something wrong in the atmosphere for a moment. After observing silently for a circle, several people took a deep breath and walked inside. This time the exam is several times more than in the original book, and everyone here is a competitor. Cameras are installed in all examination rooms to prevent cheating. The camera is connected to the observatory room where the leaders of each village are located. Although it was a written test, almost all the leaders of the village came over and wanted to learn Konoha's first advanced technology. Sitting in the forefront and looking at the big screen, there are the shadows of the 5 ninja villages. But what is a bit surprising is that Kurigakure's Mizukage Terumime is missing. There is no doubt that in the screen picture just ahead, it is the scene of the 2 geniuses of Konoha entering the examination room. The mentality is not bad. Seeing that his son was not yelling, Minato nodded in satisfaction. Well, it's good to be the son of Naruto after all, but Lord Naruto, Mizukage doesn't seem to give it much. Konoha noodles. Quote. Onoki, who was sitting next to Minato, found the opportunity to directly use the secret technique of yin and yang Waiki. It's okay, there may be something to deal with. Little son responded with a smile, and was not fooled, but instead turned his gaze to the door of the observatory. Real identity. Orochimaru. But why does it look like a woman? Moreover, the leaders of all the villages are gathered here, so he dared to come over so generously. Minato frowned. Ah guys, don't mean to be late. Up pointing arrow at this moment, Terumime in the Mizukage cloak walked in, looking flat from her ruddy face. It can be seen that it should have been running over after getting up late. Of course, why is it so late that it started when a bastard jumped in through the window last night? Talking about. But the tiring night is not a reward. The bastard was sitting in a chair and staring at the big screen, when a man kicked open the entrance of the examination room. Terumime smiled. This forbearance card contains all the test materials. Similar to the plot in the original book, Yakushi Kabuto took this opportunity to introduce his card, and Sasuke and Naruto asked curiously. Not all, only noteworthy ninjas will enter the card. Kabuto helped his glasses and said calmly, by the way, he gave a few ninjas in the distant Odonan village a glance. Well, Master Orochimaru is here, so a little trouble is not too much. Boom. It's a pity that the door of the number 5 examination room was kicked open in advance. I'm Morino Ibiki, entering the examination room boldly, as Konoha's interrogator wears a hideous scar on his face, and bluffing looks really bluffing. But the real strength is just like that. I have quite some experience in interrogation, but it is enough to scare children. The classroom became quiet, and Ibis nodded in satisfaction. Boom. Just as Abizi was about to announce the rules of the exam, the noise hit again. The door method was more rude than before, causing the entire classroom to tremble, and the door was painfully turned into fragments. The test cows also stared at the people at the entrance with wide-eyed eyes. Am I late? The man asked with a cough. The martial arts suit is a little messy, so I can see that it should be put on indiscriminately. And the lipstick mark on his face and the paw marks on his chest have not completely dissipated, indicating that this man has just experienced an unprecedented battle. But these are not the point at all. Damn, what do you Konoha mean? In the observatory room, angered and shamelessly grabbed his only remaining arm and slapped himself at the big screen. That kid, he knows that little devil turned into ashes. Let such people take the Chunin exam. Yes, Hokage, he is the hero of Konoha. I'm afraid that your strength is better than you. After all, he is a man known as Konoha Kenpachi. Onoki swallowed, he must say something. Nothing else, his own granddaughter Heitu also took the exam. If he confronts Yi Bajian, he won't be killed. He is Konoha Kenpachi, the one who beat Raikage. You Konoha, don't you want a face? I don't know who murmured behind him, and the whole scene seemed a little chaotic. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 176. Tell them that I chopped the moon to pieces. Yes, this is too shameless. As the hero of Konoha, someone who is comparable to or even surpassed by Naruto, is he taking the exam with a group of genin? Quote. Don't panic, what if someone just passes by, or is the teacher who is the invigilator? The surroundings are noisy, and Ibuki Morino in the examination room was obviously also dumbfounded, and ran to Bajian in a daze on one knee. Master Bajian, are you, temporarily changing the examiner? Then I will retire first. After swallowing, Morino Ibixi stroked the scar on his face. It was left by the man in front of him. I still can't forget that when the teenager opened the interrogation room and took Anko away, he turned around and left behind for himself. The shock. Sure enough, there is a lot of pressure when facing this man. But the scar on my face has become a way to show off with my peers. See it. This was played by Konoha Kenpachi himself, so handsome. Well, don't get me wrong, I'll take a test. Bajian sorted out the slightly messy death tyrant's clothes, coughing, and patted Morino Ibiki on the shoulder. Take an exam. When they heard this, Konoha's genin all stood up in the entire classroom, and then stepped. Unanimously, he slapped himself fiercely. Damn it, absolutely. Really came for the exam. Exclamation mark. Hokage, don't you want to say something? In the observatory room, Onoki, who was completely confirmed, looked at Minato with a black face. Let that kid take the exam. Isn't this just a full-level number entering the novice village? Does Konoha want a face? What does Master Tsuchikage want me to say? On the contrary, Minato's doubts made Onoki almost vomit blood. This exam is for genin, and Yi Bajian, as my disciple, I can use character to ensure that he is really just genin. Genin, your face is as thick as the Konoha city wall. Onoki sat on the ground decadently and sighed. Konoha's strongest combat power is genin. Genin, calm down, everyone. If you talk about the matter of asking for a face, Konoha has regulations. It is illegal to trade human organs without permission. The rules are indeed like this, but shamelessness can be related to private trade in human organs. Who said this shamelessly? Everyone's eyes moved slowly, and finally fell on someone sitting in the corner. 230th Third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. Search karma. Ginger is still old and spicy. That's right, Konoha really needs someone to stand up at this time. In order to protect Konoha's face, Sarutobi Hiruzen decided what he had to say. If Konoha's shamelessness is transferred to the old man, these people will have nothing to say. As expected, Lord Third Hokage, the strongest Hokage. But what's interesting is that next to Sarutobi Hiruzen, there is Anti-Snake. Hearing Sarutobi Hiruzen talking, he even moved his entire face in front of Sarutobi, and then showed half of his tongue, as if he had found the prey. Please stay away from the old man. The old man has no different minds about his wife. N.S. Turning to his side, Sarutobi calmly said to Ant Snake, Your Excellency is the leader of Yinyan Village, do you know Yinyan Village? Quote. Ant Snake retracted her tongue and squinted her eyes. When the master and the apprentice met again, the discussion was about whether Konoha should be shameless. There is no doubt that Konoha does not want. No, or that my master does not need that stuff. No, some rumors. Withdrawing his gaze, although I feel a little familiar with the other person, Sarutobi can't remember it either. Where did the familiar feeling come from? The storm brought by Yi Bajian's entry into the examination room has passed. After a bit of grumbling, the field has calmed down. In fact, they dare not say too much. This is Konoha, and the rules are set by others. And Yi Bajian is indeed genin. This is very important, but any genin is eligible to take the Chunin exam. If you are forcing Lai Lai to say a few words, I am afraid it will end badly. I never heard that even if Feng Ying's two sons were ruined, one of them was discharged from the hospital because of an anal fissure. Have you been fascinated by beatings for days? Bloody lesson. Complaints can be made, but they must be moderate. If they take advantage of the topic, I am afraid they will not see the sun tomorrow. This is Konoha, the well-deserved first ninja village. But, why didn't they think of this? How good would Jonin from his village pretend to be genin to take the exam and show his face in his village? Sure enough, shame is the best way to be superior. Big brother also takes the exam. Looking at Bajian in surprise, AEFH Naruto asked in a daze. Master is genin. Sasuke sat on the chair with a solemn expression, and then took a deep breath and clenched his fist as if some kind of. The strong decision slapped the table fiercely with the fighting spirit and indomitable second pillar in his eyes. Sasuke. Do you want to declare war with Big Brother? Naruto looked at the second pillar in shock. What a grandeur this is. Naruto, who has always been targeting his eldest brother, gritted his teeth and put himself in the position to think about it. I will never meet Master during the actual combat assessment lottery. Betting on all the luck of the Uchiha clan. Absolutely not. I'm going to your uncle. Naruto exploded on the spot. Hey, the one named Kabuto, should you have a ninja card about him? In the corner of the classroom, Tamari frowned and looked at Yakushi Kabuto next to him. She's not interested in other people's information, but the so-called Konoha Kenpachi alone must understand. She did hear some rumors when she was in Sand Shinobi Village, but what kind of person is the other party? I don't know at all. And because of taking care of the two injured younger brothers these days, so I don't have time to go to Konoha, then. The deeds on the merit wall are only a rough idea, but now, if the opponent is your opponent in Chunin's exam. Konoha Kenpachi, it is rumored that the Night Owl team led by him, as long as they can retreat directly without having to finish a task. What kind of person is he? Tamari would love to know. No. Kabuto shoved his eyes with solemn expression. He really didn't. Who would have thought that this guy had also taken the Chunin exam? Is that so? With a sigh of regret, Tamari is about to give up. But as Konoha's ninja, he still knows a little about Konoha Kenpachi's deeds. Kabuto smiled slightly and took out a blank card and pen on the spot. Yi Bajian, 6 years old, graduated early from the ninja school with Uchiha Itachi in the same period. The first task to accept and complete was the C level. Later, due to the task, a lot of ninja changes were encountered. It is a grade. The first one to perform is the A-level task. Temari's beautiful body stunned his eyes. Graduated at the age of 6 and completed A-level tasks. After returning to the village, Yinyi's sister Mitarashi Anko was taken into Anbu to investigate, and angrily rushed into Anbu to rescue him. Elder sister. What, really? Tamari opened her mouth and didn't dare to breathe. Into Anbu. How dare he do such a thing? Although the other party violated the rules, he got the asylum of 4th Hokage to join Anbu. The Owl team was formally established. In the same year, he went deep into the Land of Thunder, and captured the second tail of Jinchuriki, who was seriously injured by Wooden Golem, 8 Tails Jinchuriki. Rabbi, Huhui Village and 4th Hokage captured 4th Raikage alive by coincidence. At that time, Master Minato once said. That was Konoha Kenpachi's main attack, and he was only responsible for supporting it. Negotiations with Cloud Shinobi Village, forcing Cloud Shinobi Village to cede the land completely to Konoha's expansion. First person, 9 Tails Jinchuriki gave birth and protected Konoha Village from disaster. The patron saint of leaves. Admit it, well, Sand Shinobi Village took the initiative to apologize. Killed Iwagakure had to bow his head. Later, in order to retaliate against the leader of the 4 ninja villages, 200 Konoha Anbu elite said in one breath, Kabuto clicked 3 ellipses in the column of deeds. In short, this little ninja card can't finish writing deeds. But to sum it up, he is the character of Shuin, whose prestige has long surpassed that of Hokage. To use Master Bajian's own words, he is standing here in Konoha as the first. Ichinen village. Quote. It's not bragging, but the kind that really does it. Picking up the pen again with emotion, Kabuto made a final addition. The rumored ninja demon, Konoha. Soul within. Quote. The Grandmaster swordsmanship, but also the power of the Master above chakra, it is said that he has the soul to strike. His combat power is indescribable, but what is certain is that no matter who encounters him, as long as Kenpachi-sama thinks, that person will definitely die. Quote. After finishing the last stroke, Kabuto handed Konoha Kenpachi's ninja card to Tamari, who was trembling. Swallowed. At this moment, Tamari felt that she should kneel and read this ninja card. He looked up at the man's face, he looked less than 20. But the other party's experience and everything they have done is too exaggerated. How could Konoha have such a strong person? Kabuto. At this moment, Bajian suddenly turned his head and met Kabuto's gaze. Master Bajian. Kneeling on one knee without saying anything, Kabuto is extremely pious at this moment. As an undercover agent, Kabuto's everything is so qualified, and the speed of entering the state is not comparable to others. You know me, but please add an introduction in the future and it won't be so troublesome. Bajian smiled and pointed to the sky. Tell them, I chopped the moon to pieces. Plopped. Tamari knelt down completely and bowed down to the forbearance card. Tell them, the moon was also cut by me. Bragging. No, his identity, there is no need to brag to himself, because he is standing where you want to describe the other person, there is only the word, newbie. So there is no need for the awesome people to fool others to force the genins in the examination room to shiver. Just kidding. The man who slashed the moon and competed with them. Please beg your face. Dare to give us a little gaming experience. Bell. Outside the examination room, the bell rang. Morino Ibiki, who had not dared to speak, finally breathed a sigh of relief. Originally, the time Bajian-sama just came in, it should have been pretending to be forced to cultivate the aura, but he doesn't dare to be here. Never mind. It's good to take the exam as usual. Broken. Quote. Seems like it. The exam has already begun, but the viewing room is silent at the moment. The man's words came to their ears through surveillance. For a while, the shadows of the major ninja villages were silent. Last night, they were still discussing who was better, Senju Hashirama or Yi Bajian. But now people say that the moon was chopped to pieces by him. Well, Senju Hashirama is called the god of ninjas. But the only place he can toss is the ninja world. But that person, it's all going to heaven. Did you chop off the moon? Orochimaru sitting next to third generation looked solemn. With the three biggest cards in his hand, he was extremely confident when he first came to Konoha. Only now, the strength of his opponents is a bit suspicious. Bajian-kun, can he cut off the moon? What a joke. How could human beings have such power? At this moment, Orochimaru suddenly felt that his master's Nagato was not fragrant. Chunin exam. The first round is a written test. But the elegant ones are actually some basic skills of being a ninja. Plagiarism is also a means, and there are many ways to observe intelligence. But in addition to these things, the most important thing is the last additional question. Test the cohesiveness of teamwork, whether you trust your peers like this. But this is not a problem for Bajian at all. Because he has no companions. Calmly threw the test paper to Hinata's side and asked her to help. Bajian picked up the wine gourd and drank it. Get up and cut. Others use all means to plagiarize, this guy directly arrogantly asked others to help answer. Gone. Think about it, who can control him? This kid is here to take a stroll and show his face. Bajian is not interested in doing questions. He came to take the exam for more than just a stroll. The Death Forest in the second round is where he plays. Stand up and walk to another corner of the classroom step by step. Kimimaro, who was staring at the exam questions in front of him in a daze, slowly raised his head to meet Bajian's gaze. Kagaya Kimimaro. Holding his shoulders and staring at him, Bajian stroked his chin. After dealing with Kurigakure, he asked Terumi-mei for two people. One is Hoshigaki Kisame, the honest man at the moment is taking an exam next door. The second one is Kagaya Kimimaro. In the original book, even if the body has been worn down to a certain extent, the horror man who drives his body to fight with faith. He shouldn't be here. According to time calculations, his bloodline disease should have erupted long ago, lying in Orochimaru's laboratory. When Sasuke defected, he played the last light and heat. But he actually came to Konoha, and even sat here quietly to take an exam. Frowning, Bajian's pupils flashed with blue light, and the light blue was like Yu's eyes, and his eyes seemed flat. Scan Kimimaro thoroughly. Oh, did you use Hashirama cells to continue your life? But even this way, it shouldn't last for a long time. His pupils recovered, Bajian smiled slightly and then caught Kimimaro's Ōtsutsuki village in front of everyone. Ninja Forehead Protector. Gaba. With one hand, the forehead protector was crushed. Close to the other's angry face, a gray bone suddenly appeared in Bajian's palm. Do you know this thing? Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 177 Miss Snake, what do you think of them? This bone. Kimimaro stood up instantly when the gray bone came out of Bajian's palm. Dead bone pulse. No, it's different from dead bone pulse. This bone is full of death, and dead bone pulse uses chakra to control its own bones. Any bone in the body is his weapon. But there is no doubt that this method of manipulating bones is very similar to the Teru Yoruichi clan. Killing gray bones. Ōtsutsuki Kagaya is Bajian's wedge. He can use Kagaya's power unscrupulously, and this perfect wedge will not have any effect on Bajian's body. So there is nothing new that he can use the killing ashes. It seems you understand a little bit. Recovering the killed ashes, Bajian patted Kimimaro on the shoulder. Find an opportunity, let's have a good chat. There is no doubt that Bajian appreciates Kimimaro. Whether it is the will to fight for faith, or the highest level of spiritual control of the body, Bajian appreciates it. And the powerful combat power of Dead Bone Pulse shouldn't be extinct from Kimimaro's generation. The child has a serious physical problem. In the spiritual space, seeing Kimimaro's appearance through Bajian, Kagaya said suspiciously. The chakra passed down from my concubine has been passed down, but his line seems to have been upgraded. It's a bit unclear about the specifics, it should be that the body is in conflict with the boundary of blood inheritance. Upgraded. This problem is easy to solve. Bajian nodded and turned back to his seat and closed his eyes to rest. I'm so arrogant. Quote. Yes, that Konoha Kenpachi directly smashed the forehead protector from Ōtsutsuki village. What do I mean by going here? Stupid, it must be Konoha Kenpachi who is in love with that kid. Shit luck, why didn't Kenpachi, the ninja in our village, look after? Your idea is very dangerous. The practice of crushing the forehead protector in another village is undoubtedly provoking the authority of the village leader. But at the moment they knew Konoha's toughness, and even their people were seen as having an urge to get seduced. Ah, this is an effective way to get a relationship with Konoha. Bajian-kun. Staring at the big screen, Aunt Snake's eyes flickered and she didn't know what she was thinking. That kid is lucky. But third generation happily nodded to Orochimaru. Who knows? Aunt Snake sneered and stood up and walked outside. The purpose of coming here was just to see some prey that he considered qualified for the exam. Now that the goal has been achieved, it is time to prepare for the next stage. The Chunin exam continued. The additional exam questions at the end of the first round really stumped a lot of exams. But there are not many people who truly believe in their companions. After the first round of the written test in the original book, only 26 groups with a total of 78 people remained, but this time due to. In order to come to Konoha, the number of shinobu villages has soared, and the number of people who passed has increased by 5 times, close to 400 people. Bajian didn't bother to look at it. The first round of written examinations did not reveal anything. And the really exciting part of the Chunin exam is the third round. After saying hello to Ibiza, he came to the second round of assessment. Death Forest. Oops, my stupid brother, I'm afraid you won't be able to survive the first round. Quote. When the test cows came to the entrance of the Death Forest from the teaching building, their bodies rushed directly in front. The legendary man cried in his arms. Relations. Stone Hammer. The chief examiner in charge of the second round of tests turned out to be the man's sister. Thinking too much, the kids play house ant. Bajian shrugged his shoulders and relaxed. Hey, the earth coiling axis will just forget it for you. It was even more excessive. The test cows, who just learned that the second round is a real battle, looked at the two angrily. I saw that Anko was very generous to pivot the earth coiling into the man's arms. Hey, what are you doing? Isn't it okay to be low-key even if you cheat? What do you look at? This is for your good. Seping has a lot of eyes focused on this side. Anko punches the ground uncomfortably. Fortunately, after living with Tsunade for so long, she didn't learn anything, at least she's already a master. A hint of quintessence bang. The earth shattered and Anko looked at the shocked Genin coldly with his shoulders. Are you calm? Put your ears up and listen to me. Don't talk about unfairness. To put it bluntly, my brother just came over for a cutscene, and you. Do we think it's wrong to give this scroll directly to him? Then I ask you, if this kind of man who can cut the moon in half attacks you, you can rely on. What can protect my scroll? This. Genins in each village are silent. Yes, if he grabs something, who can hold him back? At that time, I am afraid that the loss will not only be the scroll. They heard about it after they came to Konoha. Konoha Kenpachi has a hobby of collecting girls, and his family is full of women except himself. If it is targeted. After swallowing, the Genins obediently led their scrolls after being identified as the stakes. Into the Death Forest. But Bajian's eyes kept falling on a strange person. He really came. Even casually walked into the Death Forest in front of him. Deliberately, shaking his neck, Bajian figured in. It's boring, it's completely different from what I expected. The schedule has just begun, but the expected battle after the excited Naruto rushed into the forest did not appear. After the expansion, the Death Forest has hundreds of entrances, and no one will be stupid enough to fight directly at this time. Sasuke shook his head, watching the surrounding scenes warily. The local fighters are not strangers to the terrain of the Dead Forest, but just as he said. Konoha expanded, the area of the Dead Forest naturally also increased. It was still going to the tower in the middle, but the distance had improved a lot. But what is certain is that the probability of encountering an enemy will increase every time you move forward, because in the end, there is only one point, so the density of the ninja will also increase. It's like the Battle Royale game that Master said. The Big Kill, a new concept that emerged from Bajian's mouth. Even the ninja game that has begun to be put on the agenda has already been added to the screening of Real. The positive powerhouse is in the process of the Night Owl Squad reserve team. A total of 100 people fell into the forest, and those who had to escape the barrier slowly narrowed and finally survived are eligible to enter the next round of screening. Want to join the Night Owl? Through the Battle Royale as the basis. Anbu itself does not need the weak, let alone the elite Night Owl in the elite. Speaking of which, Sasuke, Naruto, and Bajian-sama, what kind of person do you remember in your mind? Can you talk about it? Little Sakura, who was extremely calm along the way, suddenly asked. As a companion, Sakura can't keep up with Sasuke and Naruto at all, but she doesn't want to. This obscurity continues. There are many ways to find strength. Following Master Bajian should be the most attractive way. Big brother, I can't tell you, but to me, he's the most important family member, like my father and mother. Sample. Quote. Naruto thought for a while and said, holding his head. Where is Sasuke? Tilting his head, Naruto looked at Sasuke, who was also curious about the answer. Beyond the master, get the approval of Itachi. Sasuke obviously didn't want to say too much, but his eyes were solemn at the sealed state. To Bajian, Sasuke more respect. Because Itachi respects Bajian and even looks up to that man all the time. As Itachi's younger brother, Sasuke had only one idea at first. It's also the sentence I said to my master when I was officially apprentice. I want to take back Nissan from master. Quote. The bloody words are confusing. Isn't your brother by your side? What does it mean to retake Nissan? Bajian doesn't understand at all. But accepting Sasuke as his disciple was because Itachi had asked Bajian to ask him, so he didn't refuse. After all, compared to Naruto, Sasuke's sword skills are not weak. Sighing, Zuzi shook his head. That's just the first thought. But as I understood Master's past and discovered the secrets of that man a little bit. Only then did he understand what the other party was attracting Itachi, why Itachi even said the reason for being the shadow of the Master. That is the unique personality charm of Master. Just stand behind him, all problems are not a problem. And Sasuke found that only the closer to the man, the more shocking impact would follow. Think you know Master? That's just thinking of yourself. The conversation stopped, and Naruto and Sasuke walked ahead. The little Sakura behind the team was even more confused. She probably can't understand the heart of the two at all. Without continuing to talk, they all seemed to be thinking about the problem that Sakura said just now. But gradually, the road ahead seemed to be somewhat unusual. Sasuke. Naruto stopped at the same time as Sasuke. What's wrong? Little Sakura, who was addicted to his thoughts, asked suspiciously. It's too quiet, it's been quiet from the beginning. Sasuke's Sharingan spins slightly. This is called the Dead Forest, but it is also a real forest. Since it is a forest, there will be animals, birds, etc. But this one is silent. Cut. Did you find it? Behind the tree in front, 3 strangely dressed ninjas walked out slowly. Yin Ren 3 people. Unlike the high-end version of the Odonin 5, the Sannin, composed of Saktas and Jintu, is only capable of. In Genin, the purpose of the original work is to be sent by Orochimaru to Konoha to observe the changes in the seal and even kill Sasuke. But the purpose now is obviously the same as the original, they are already in front of the first class at the moment. Trouble is coming. Sasuke slowly pulled out the sealed state hung around his waist, without panic. And Naruto calmly took out the unprepared battle. Let me see his strength. In the distance, a pair of eyes peered at everything secretly. The abilities of the 3 of Odonin were all cultivated by Orochimaru himself, and they used their voices to attack. This novel way of fighting Orochimaru is also looking forward to. Of course, these 3 are bottom chess pieces that can be discarded at any time. The real test has been arranged. Rear. Give you a chance, hand over the scroll, or die. On the field, Sasuke raised his head like Yi Bajian, Zanpakuto resisted and screamed. Unfortunately, he was strictly controlled by Itachi to not allow him to drink, otherwise he should drink at the same time. It has been said that if you meet people from other villages, you can depend on the situation, except for those in Yinyan village, who must be killed. Quote. Naruto scratched his head suddenly. The 3 of us, is this underestimated? Quote. Sak's voice was hoarse, but the anger was beyond words. Kill them. Toss body wrapped in bandages trembled. Jin didn't speak, just pulled out his special weapon. Sasuke, it's the moment that Big Brother once said. Rather than rushing forward recklessly, Naruto instead pointed kunai at Sasuke next to him. Yes, Itachi said that once the master did this. Similarly, Kuma was drawn out to aim at Naruto, and Sasuke's eyes flickered. What are they going to do? The little Sakura behind him was completely stunned. Puff. There is no thorn, blood is flying. At this moment, the figures of the 2 slowly merged with Bajian, who was on the mission for the first time. I still remember that Bajian behind him used the method of catching the opponent's weapon with his bare hands in order to restrain himself from the discomfort caused by the murder. Now, there is not much difference from the previous scene. Pain can make them sober. Since they decided to use their blood to practice themselves, and killing the people in Yinyan village was the task given to them by Bajian, there was no need to keep it. Multiple shadow clone techniques. Rasengan. The hands are sealed, and the blood on the hands drips to the ground. Hundreds of entity clones appeared behind Naruto. And Sasuke fiercely plunged the knife into the ground to engrave a masterpiece. Knife 0 Chidori. Stronger attack power than Chidori, from Yi Bajian's revision of Chidori. Only the Uchiha clan who turned on Sharingan can learn successful A-level ninjutsu. As for the sword Reikiri, the evolutionary version of Chidori, Sasuke is only a little short of master's success. What is this monster? When hundreds of Naruto rubbed the balls and rushed towards the three of toss, they were completely frightened. And when they were stunned, the buzzing on the tip of the knife had already cut one of them into two. Blood splattered. The last scene of their 3 lives is the sky full of Naruto and the thunderbolt stabbing the chest. Failed. The peeping figure in the distance trembled for a while, and finally retracted its gaze. There is no doubt that she is Orochimaru. Standing there silently, she leaned against the tree with the confused anti-snake in her eyes. She found that she seemed to have made a mistake. Are your 3 genin subordinates rubbish? It doesn't seem to be a waste. The failure was due to the super combat power shown by Sasuke and Naruto. Coming to Konoha, the ultimate goal is naturally to win a suitable container. The best candidate is Yi Bajian. The second is Uchiha Itachi. In the end, if the plan fails, Sasuke, Itachi's brother, is taken away. But now it's only the first round of temptation, and her face hurts terribly. The person she personally trained was stunned in just one face. What's this? There is no way to write an experiment report. Holding her shoulders, Aunt Snake sighed and turned around. But the man sitting on the trunk drinking wine in front of her suddenly got terrified for a moment. When did he appear here? Snake first. Oh sorry. Now, Miss Snake, my brother and my apprentice, what do you think of them? The needle-like pupils face each other. At this moment, the atmosphere of the Death Forest became extremely cold. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 178 Because I have one more excellent teacher than you. Dead Forest. Like the death in the name, the atmosphere of depression began to spread. 2 figures stood in a stalemate under the trees in a dark place in the forest. Yi Bajian and Orochimaru. Of course, this stalemate is not what Orochimaru wants to see. From the time this man appeared to the present, he has been wondering how to run away. With only one point, Orochimaru was extremely puzzled. The other party appeared behind him silently, and if he attacked, he might have fallen. But obviously, Yi Bajian didn't do that. What does he mean? Bajian-kun. A trace of sweat oozes from her forehead, and Aunt Snake has some scalp tingling. The moment he called out the opponent's name, Orochimaru retreated like a snake. But there was a flash in front of her, and her head was instantly held down and smashed to the ground. Boom. Boom. The violent shaking affected the entire dead forest. Immediately after Bajian smashed into the hole in the ground, the position of Orochimaru's head began to crack. After more than 10 seconds, the shaking stopped slightly. Whether it's the genins in the dead forest or the people watching through cameras in Konoha village. They all stared wide-eyed looking for the source of the earthquake. From the air, the intense explosion that spreads like a whirlpool looks very shocking. Unfortunately, this location is a blind spot selected by Orochimaru himself as a surveillance spot. Epicenter. Orochimaru watched the changes around him in horror. Not surprised at this destructive power, but she didn't expect that she was not dead at all. This kind of power control completely stunned Orochimaru. After many years, I returned to Konoha again. That little devil once was no longer something she could deal with. 250. This feeling of being killed at any time has not been felt for decades. Growth speed beyond recognition. If it is this kind of power, then what he said cut off the moon, I am afraid it is also true. It seems that I have not answered the question I asked you. Throwing Orochimaru aside, Bajian calmly leaned against the broken tree and continued to drink. Kill Orochimaru. It is really easy for Bajian. He firmly believes that no matter what whole cards Orochimaru master has, he still can't turn the tide. The 3 templates were successfully activated, and Bajian's physique reached pervert's ground under the persistent swing of the knife. Strange leveling ability, outrageous Tensegan. In this world, Orochimaru will be, Bajian will be. Orochimaru will not, Bajian will. So he is fearless. He wanted to kill Orochimaru, but he just did it, but he didn't. There is nothing Bajian is excited about in this ninja world. After the power reaches its peak, where does the pleasure come from? Just a little bit, his power can break through the shackles of this world. It's not that far away from what he said at the beginning to cut down the world. Looked at the knife in his hand. Bajian smiled freely. Cut over and cut over have 2 meanings. Just like Konoha now, the village at this moment has undergone earth-shaking changes. This is the second way to cut down the past and build the future. The first kind of cut down in the physical sense is blindly destroying. In the process of cutting over Konoha, Bajian grew up and realized. He found that it was not Konoha that he hated, but only the very few people and pedantry in Konoha village. The system is nothing more than. So when Minato showed up, he found that the village was not hopeless. Just follow along, the ninja world at this moment has even experienced unprecedented changes. After forming a bond with the people in this village, the feeling of belonging to the place is the eighth. The sword wanted. Yes, Konoha is like this right now. He came to make up for a lot of regrets, maybe some places did not do well, but stand in his corner. In terms of degree, it is enough. Just like Orochimaru in front of me. Is he also a hopeless person? This is why Bajian stood behind him and didn't shoot him directly. Unexpectedly, Bajian-kun master has such a powerful force. Get up from the ground, because Bajian's power is on the ground, not on Orochimaru, so. At this moment, Ant Snake did not suffer much harm. But obviously, just by looking at everything in Joe, he understood that the man in front of him was extremely capable of fighting. He still has the whole cards, but it doesn't make much sense to use them now. Naruto-kun and Sasuke-kun are really strong. After a long silence, Orochimaru finally answered Bajian's previous question. There is no doubt about this. After all, one of them is my brother and the other is my apprentice. Bajian smiled and nodded, like when he heard that the younger generation he taught was praised. Look like. Bajian-kun, can I ask you a question? Orochimaru's eyes were strongly unwilling and doubtful. Why? Why did this man choose to stand on Konoha's side in the end? It's not that he told me that if you take this village too seriously, then the so-called betrayal will not mean anything. Righteous. Years ago, Konoha's training ground. I told you that I had a perfect plan to defect to Konoha. From that day on, I will become Konoha's betrayal. Quote. But you told me that I am complacent about a defection plan, which means I still take this village seriously. Feeling slightly agitated, Orochimaru was short of breath. Even after I heard what you said, I reflected on myself. Especially your sentence, if it is really not at peace, destroy it. Now I'm here, but why is you standing in front of me and blocking me? With strong unwillingness in his eyes, Orochimaru punched hard. Why? Yi Bajian, many years ago, looked like himself. The same indifference to life, the same cruelty, and no complicated emotions towards this village. But why in the end the fate of the two people is completely opposite? One became Konoha's most dazzling hero, and the other became Renan. The appointment on the training ground at night, Orochimaru heard this boy say that sooner or later he will come to look for it. He even thought that Yi Bajian at that time had already seen the essence and truth of Konoha. The so-called struggle for power has lost interest. In fact, he did see clearly, but he chose to use means to change everything he saw. But to escape like this. Why? After thinking for a long time, Bajian smiled freely, and took a big mouthful of his own wine gourd. When spirits enter the throat, my mind will fall into the picture of memories. If you stand behind Anbu's door and protect Anko, Minato doesn't stand up and say that. I believe you. Yes. If he didn't say, I would choose to follow that path. According to the template behind him, the progress is terribly low, but Shinigami is Shinigami, and Reiatsu is fully exploded. Send the body to the evil spirit. He can still leave Konoha with Anko. This is the power of Shinigami. But this is not the point. The point is that if Minato doesn't stand up, this village, like Ping, will not interact with anyone other than Itachi. Human property fetters. Even if that matter is suppressed forcibly, it is estimated that after the night of the genocide or the Nine Tails chaos, he will end. Itachi will leave Konoha together and become a betrayal. Then maybe he will really understand Orochimaru. But this assumption does not exist. No matter how many choices appear, Minato will stand up. That is fate. Minato has made the wisest decision in his life. If there was no figure blocking Bajian back then, Konoha. The first ninja village. Just a joke. Cut. Shit's fetters. Shaking his head, Bajian turned his head and looked into Orochimaru's eyes. Probably, I have a better teacher than you. Why? There is a better teacher than you. Orochimaru's body was quite stiff, and could not help falling to the ground feebly. My teacher's words, in the same scene, when I want to stop others from doing dangerous training. Wait, won't stand in front of me, and then ask me what to watch. God is full of ambitions or something like that. Quote. He believes in me. With a kind smile, Orochimaru lowered his head. No one gets down and kills all feelings. No one can look at the struggling cow in the container with peace of mind when experimenting with humans at the beginning. He is Orochimaru, the legendary Sannin of Konoha. I was born in Konoha, and I'm honored to be the disciple of the third Hokage, with Tsunade and Jiraiya. Niyu's got the title of Konoha Sannin in the second Ninja War, and Konoha Takata in the third Ninja War. Only they know it in their hearts. In combat, he defended Kikyo Mountain with less than 1,000 troops in Sand Shinobi Village. A corpse with a companion was in front of him, maybe at that moment he was lost. Sneak into the archives room to learn including forbidden technique and so on. But at that time he did not give up Konoha. Even the position of fourth Hokage still has its own opinions. Sometimes he is more inclined to Danzo's decisiveness, but is he really to blame? It was his teacher who sent Orochimaru to the roots and collaborated with Danzo. Human experiments were also carried out with his acquiescence. Perhaps as Yi Bajian said, my teacher blocked when he wanted to save Uchiha Itachi. When in front of him, his kindness completely died. Spread. Good people can't do well. It doesn't matter to be a bad person. Yongyu can learn all the ninjutsu in the world only if it survives. He is a genius. I think I have learned longevity. But the thorn in my heart can never be pulled out. Konoha, teacher, make a decision. This is the first goal after Yongyu. He wanted to see how his teacher would choose when his life was dying. I also want to ask in person if I regret not letting him become the fourth Hokage. He was right. Bajian-kun, you do have a better teacher than teacher Sarutobi. After the silence, only Orochimaru's hoarse voice was left. Perhaps not getting the teacher's approval is the most painful thing. But Bajian-kun, I am Orochimaru. In shame, there is no need to try to climb the wall of merit like teacher third generation. Quote. I am Orochimaru, you don't need to judge me, I am me. His hands quickly formed seals, and Orochimaru howled like a madman. Look at Bajian-kun, watching Konoha ruin in front of you. The array of 10,000 snakes. Triple Luo Niu Men. Orochimaru's stream body replacement technique. The group of snakes danced wildly, the ferocious group of snakes swarmed around. However, no snake dared to approach Bajian. This continuous ninjutsu release just wanted to retreat quickly. After everything was over, Bajian still stood there without moving. With a familiar smile on his face, the man slowly stood up and patted the leaves on his shoulders. Then please do your best to please me. One foot stepped on the body of a nearby big snake, and the flesh and blood flew with a bang. Standing tall and straight, facing the sun, enjoying the warmth of a depressive atmosphere. He did not go after Orochimaru. From Orochimaru's last words, in addition to madness, he also heard a trace of the meaning of prayer. Give him a chance. Just one time. Make a break. He wants to prove the value of his existence. With a slight movement of his ears, Bajian looked aside curiously. Ah, where did these snakes come from? Run, this death forest is really troublesome, it's an earthquake and a snake's nest. Wait for me. In the distance, 3 figures were running towards Jujian. At the forefront is a strong figure. Stout, or fat is more appropriate, but in Akamichi Choji's eyes, it's just plump and 2.8 males of master expansion jutsu. In the blog post, he even married the black girl who beat Naruto in Cloud Shinobi Village. What's interesting is that the black girl and Choji's daughter asked the black girl why she would marry Choji, who has no bright spots. Now, here comes the more interesting thing. The black girl said that Choji had a bright spot, but she couldn't say it. Gone. Quite easy to guess. Part of expansion jutsu seems to be available everywhere. That is the most effective weapon against black girls. An enviable ability, but it's a pity that Bajian doesn't use it. But at this moment, the Ino Shika Cho trio is obviously Choji's fastest runner. In the middle is Shikamaru, and the last Ino is being driven by a white snake behind him. From Orochimaru's 10,000 snake array, covering his retreat. This move Orochimaru was just for defense, so it didn't detonate the snakes, so it was just chasing. As for why the Ino Shika Cho trio would run here, Seping wanted to check the cause of the previous earthquake. The Chunin exam in the original book, their group will also move forward when they hear the movement. Ruined. As if he was caught by something under his feet, Ino's body fell forward, and the white snake behind him opened his mouth wide. You can always believe in Yi Bajian at this critical moment when a hero saves the United States. The light of the knife flashed, and the white snake was already divided into 2. And Ino, who was about to fall on the ground, fell into the man's arms. Sunshine, long hair, blood, long knife. Man's taste. And that face that was so close. Ino's heart beat fiercely, and then fainted very simply. Touching his chin, Bajian suddenly smiled and pressed to the delicate face. It seems that artificial respiration is needed. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 179 The Sudden Change, the name that was called out in the qualifiers. Master Bajian. Master Bajian. For 5 full minutes, Bajian put down Ino and raised his head. Akamichi Choji and Nara Shikamaru stood there neatly, looking a little embarrassed. Ino Shika Cho Trio. A long-standing family of secret techniques. Never fight for Hokage's position and power. Whoever becomes Hokage will choose to stand on Hokage's side and do his job well. 1. It can be regarded as a special existence among the many secret arts families who are typical of Konoha who clock in to go to work. The general secret technique is fundamentally different from the blood succession boundary, relying on special ninjutsu to strengthen itself. Will receive special education from the family since childhood. The cooperation of Ino Shika Cho is also commendable. Bajian is not interested in other secret arts families. Only the Yamanaka clan with Yamanaka Ino in his arms makes Bajian feel particularly good at controlling the spirits of others, invading the memory of the deceased, and communicating information with his companions. Ability, and even strong perception. A very strong clan of secret arts, it is certain that the mental power of this clan is not bad. And the expansion of the heart-turning technique also has great development value. Did you find the scroll? Put Ino on the ground, Bajian asked curiously. Unlucky, I only found the same type of scroll of the sky. Shikamaru scratched his head and said helplessly. Unlike the previous Chunin exam, this time the number of participants was outrageous, so the difficulty has risen sharply, and it is not gathering the sky. Even if the Earth coiling axis completes the task, the road to the central tower is the most dangerous. Come on, I am waiting for you at the end. Quote. Smiling and nodding at them, Bajian put down Ino and turned away. Team up, he has no interest. Wandering in the forest and observing objects worth observing is what he wants to do. Matter. Thanks to Master Bajian just now. Akamaiki sat on the floor with a sigh of relief. When facing the man, he was under too much pressure, even if he was standing. I also feel uncomfortable in front of the other person. Oh, I thought Master Bajian would choose to team up with us. Shikamaru sighed slightly, with the word trouble all over his head. As for why there is such an idea? Question mark. Please, although it is artificial respiration for Ino, it's not just a breathing problem. He didn't dare to look, but from the flushed face of Ino, who was finally let go, he could detect that. Unusual. This artificial respiration is not life-saving, it is ecstatic. Hey, Master Bajian is gone. So can you get up quickly? This place has been turbulent, maybe you will encounter others. The team, Master Bajian is gone. Let's hide and design traps quickly. Quote. Facing Ino on the ground, he turned Byakugan helplessly, Shikamaru said. Are you kidding me? Judging from Ino's fierce performance in their team, a little snake can scare her away. Think too much. Really gone. Suddenly opened his eyes, Ino breathed quickly and patted his chest. Sure enough to pretend to be dizzy. Poor girl heart. Patting his forehead, Shikamaru looked around to find favorable conditions for placing traps. The shock of the death forest did cause a lot of sensation, but for the genins who were completing the assessment. Obviously, the more important thing is to get the reals. Bajian wanders in the forest, and the observer accepts the behavior of the ninjas. And when he was passing a river, he suddenly felt a distinctive breath. The figure flickered, and the man leaned down. Hey, what are you doing there? Why don't you come here? Yes, didn't you see that we were injured? Next to the river, two genins covered in blood, walked towards the red-haired girl in front of them. Although the forehead protector on the forehead shows that they belong to the same ninja village. The wounded ninja had no mercy or hope on his face, only greed and desire. Obviously, they never regarded the girl in front of them as a companion, but regarded her as a special investigation. Carrot Power Bank. What are you doing? The red-haired girl retreats nervously, the panic and despair in her eyes are not because the glasses on the bridge of her nose can. Enough to block. Her name is Phosphorus. Having inherited the special physique of her mother, she has been accompanied by nightmares since birth. After the fall of the Uzumaki clan, her mother took her to Kushinen village, and that was the beginning of the nightmare. The special physique is more effective than any medical ninjutsu, no matter how serious the injury is, just bite. The last bite will gradually recover. The name of the power bank is No Joy Zero. When I was a child, I saw my mother being bitten to death. It was an unimaginable disaster. Maybe there is not much change, and she will become like a mother in this life. Kushinen village gave Uzumaki a place for the mother and daughter to live, but the mother also gave her life for it. She did not complain about all the injustices in this world, and accepting that fate seemed flat as her only choice. Seeing the vampire walking towards him step by step, Xianglin smiled miserably and stretched out his hand numbly. The hideous bite marks on her are her bloody childhood. Probably that's it. Slowly closing her eyes, at the moment of welcoming the darkness, a bright light suddenly appeared in front of her eyes. Hey, the companion is not for sucking. Quote. With the knife, the gentle smile of the man made the two genin from Kushinen village back off quickly. You are. Opening his eyes wide, Xianglin looked at the man in front of him. Want to live again? Turning his head, Bajian asked calmly. Phosphorus. The people of the Uzumaki clan have no special thoughts about fragrant phosphorus. On the contrary, it's the fiery red hair that makes Bajian. Sword thought of Uzumaki Kushina. Shin-Yang Seping has no friends except Uchiha Makoto. It also seems good to have Phosphorus, who is also from the Uzumaki clan, be her company. Hey, even if you are the legendary Konoha Kenpachi, you are not qualified to intervene in other people's villages. The two genins in front of them had recognized Bajian's identity, and they warned stiffly while being cautious. Grass Ninja Village is a magical place, and its status in the entire ninja world is also very peculiar. There is even the Ghost Lamp City, which is rumored to be responsible for detaining the most vicious criminals in the ninja world. Do you want to? Bajian didn't bother to watch the two smashed, still watching Xianglin waiting for her answer. After all, he is not obligated to save anyone, and he did not help out because he had an idea about Phosphorus. Although her physique is special, Bajian doesn't need things like power banks. Think. The light was close at hand, and the fragrant Phosphorus who wanted to catch the light nodded fiercely. Quote. That's good. Patting her head, Bajian slowly turned around. You just said that I don't have the right to interfere in the affairs of Kushinen village. This should be taught to you by your leader. Touching his chin, Bajian patted the ground smoothly. Summoning technique. Boom. White smoke flashed, and Uchiha Itachi flicked his flowing hair and bowed to Bajian. Jianzhang, what's your order? Take someone to destroy the Kaanan village. General. Disappeared. There are no extra words, just a simple order. It seemed so insignificant to this man. Destroy the village. The two genins were dumbfounded, and stood there completely at a loss. Do you like this gift? It killed your mother's village. I think it's probably from the bones. It sucks. Quote. He yanked the golden sword hanging around his neck and handed it to Xianglin. Bajian let out a gasp. Bring this thing out of the examination room and go to 4th Hokage Namikaze Minato. He knows how to arrange it. You. Quote. Bang bang. One person, 1 foot, sent away the 2 stunned genin from Grass Ninja Village, and the man turned around and left. All this seems to be a dream. When Xianglin recovered completely, the man had already left. I wanted to ask his name, but in the end she still didn't shout out. Closing his eyes silently, the opponent's chakra is like the brightest star in the night sky. The strongest perception technique, Kagura's heart. This is his taste. Xianglin nodded as if remembering something. Touching the small sword in his hand, Xianglin walked back. When I took my steps, the forehead protector that was originally carried on my head had been thrown to the ground. Starting tomorrow, she will welcome her own new life. The second round of the Chunin exam continued. Completely different from the ease in the first round, what stands out in the Death Forest is the atmosphere of death. Under the fierce competition, 1 genin from Ninja Village withdrew from the examination room. Some were seriously injured, some were convictions and chose to abstain, and some left their lives. Konoha's viewing room. Orochimaru returned to his seat. But this time her eyes were not on the big screen, instead she chose to stare at Minato, who was sitting in the front. I have one more excellent master than you. Turning his gaze back to Sarutobi next to him, Orochimaru's mind continued to reverberate with these words, and finally silently leaned on the back of the chair and fell into contemplation. Do I really hate Konoha so much? The village in front of me is completely different from what it was many years ago. Feeling the atmosphere around Orochimaru was lost. Time lapse. The number of genin deaths in the Death Forest has risen sharply. In just 3 days, hundreds of corpses have been sent back to the leaders of various shinobu villages. And the center tower, at this moment, has ushered in the first candidate to arrive. There is no doubt that Yi Bajian is the only one who can reach the end so quickly. The density of candidates has increased. This time the Chunin exam is much more difficult than before. The person who should be found has been found, and everything that should be said has been said. In the second round of assessment, Bajian has nothing to do deliberately. Wait for the start of the qualifiers at the finish. This time, it is Anbu, Kakashi and other class guide Jonin, and Jonin from other villages who were in charge of guarding at the finish line. They also gathered here and waited. Some of them were waiting for the news, saying that their subordinates had been lost. Qualified. Depressed. On the railing of the center tower, the 2 men leaned together a little wasteful, and one of them asked with a cigarette in his mouth. Well enough. With a wry smile, the other sick man shook his head. Moonlight Storm and Sarutobi Asuma. At the moment they are a little melancholy. But the jealousy and anger have disappeared. People will mature, and facing that man, they can't afford that kind of emotion in their hearts. Where does the depression come from? Look at the man who hugs the left and the right in the distance. The man who came to the end for the first time is holding Kurenai Yuhi and Azuki Yuhi to say something at this moment. Say that you will take the initiative if you are happy. Well, but when I focus on cultivating the next generation, I seem to have discovered what the old man said. Standing up and jumping, he fell in front of the Ino-Shika Cho trio. People with goals are enviable. Hayate followed with a cough. As the examiner of the Chunin exam qualifier, he needs to explain in advance some things to do in the qualifier. You are too bullying. In the distance, Kurenai Yuhi blinked at Bajian. Just standing here makes you feel shameless. Until now, she still can't accept that this man took the Chunin exam. This is obviously bullying. After staying at Midarashi's house for a while, Kurenai Yuhi acquiesced in another role of his own, and was accustomed to being taken advantage of. For example, now, this man is putting his hand on his waist, but he doesn't mean to dislike it. I'm looking at people who are worth digging for Konoha. I have no other ideas. Bajian answered calmly. The shameless ones are still behind. This guy directly changed the backstage duel number, replaced the option originally used in his buy with Hinata, and he will end up harming Genin himself. Azuki Yuyan reluctantly bypassed Bajian and said to Kurenai Yuhi. This is the real bullying. Yes. Bajian arrived early and didn't do nothing. According to previous thoughts, this level of buy is the best choice. But this guy actually tampered with the background program directly. After a while, the first game was his duel. And the person chosen by him is the blood mold. Of course, this only Mao Yushian's one-sided thoughts. The sun gradually sets. When the second round of assessment reaches the end, it has entered a countdown. Looking at the time, Kakashi below frowned. The 3 of the 10th class haven't arrived yet. This is something he didn't expect. Based on the strength of Naruto and Sasuke, it is obviously not scientific that it has not yet reached the end. Looking around, everyone who should pass has passed. On the upper side of the waiting room, the leaders of the villages and the shadows of the 5 ninja villages were already seated. Obviously, light in the viewing room can no longer satisfy their desire to watch. Even in the qualifiers, they also want to see how genins perform, even though it's not the final. Why do you want to launch the plan ahead of time? All are here, but there is already the atmosphere of the finals, everyone. In the corner of a seat above Good Jiao Nuo, 3 people squatted on the ground and were talking quietly. Orochimaru, Obito and Black Zetsu. It's Black Zetsu who is asking the question. Obviously, he feels that the time is not ripe enough. The most important thing is. The dangerous man was standing upstairs at the entrance with 2 women watching something. Our goal is to provoke a collapse plan when the 5 shadows are all around. Now everyone is here. There is no need to wait until the finals. Orochimaru said lightly. He has no patience anymore. What is the difference between the qualifiers and the finals? The preparations have been completed and he is desperate to prove that he has fallen into a state of madness and can't wait for a day. Go down. Right now, although the qualifiers are about to be held, all ninja villages in Jipping, including the top 5 ninja villages. The caller is ready in the upper viewing seat. Opportunity here. Crunch. Entrance below. The gate is about to close. At the last moment, the 3 people in Class 10 finally arrived with the scrolls. And 5 people who came in with them. Otonin 5. A total of 8 people's eyes flashed with fire. Obviously, a small conflict broke out when I first entered. If it weren't for the passage to close soon, I am afraid that bloody battles would be inevitable. The atmosphere suddenly became serious. The moonlight blast off the court stood in front of everyone and pointed to the big screen. The qualifiers are just beginning. First round. Yi Bajian's. There was a pause. Moonlight Hayate looked at the front in surprise. Yi Bajian gave his name, which is the same as the original name of that person. Words can't catch up. Isn't that kid calling you know the pain is coming? Why did Master Bajian change? I want to play. Bajian nodded to the moonlight blast. Ahem. First round. Yi Bajian vs Uzumaki Nagato. F*K. Konoha's plan to collapse. Leaving a cursing voice, Orochimaru ran straight to Sarutobi Hiruzen in the distance. The most unexpected changes. It's awkward. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 180. It seems that you haven't made much progress. Uzumaki Nagato. When the name resounded over the tower in the center, the spectators were puzzled. The Uzumaki family, a clan that was bizarrely destroyed during the Second Ninja World War. But some of the shadows in the 5 big ninja villages sitting in the front know what happened to them. Terumi Mei and I. That is an unknown history, and the cruel truth is revealed after the dust-covered clues are opened. The Uzumaki clan is too strong, everyone is a perfect Jinchuriki. In addition to Jinchuriki, his own sealing technique and peculiar physique are the most attractive places. Uzumaki. Minato also sighed. He just settled in. The girl named Uzumaki Phosphorus now sees the familiar redhead again. That is a sad family. As Hokage, he knows a thing or two about the destruction of the Uzumaki clan. His wife, Uzumaki Kushina, was the survivor who was rescued by Konoha when the door was destroyed. Minato was still young during the Second Ninja War. But over the years, he has learned some secrets from Kushina's mouth. For example, the Uzumaki clan asked Konoha for help more than once during the attack. But Konoha did not respond. At first, Minato thought, after all, it was during the Second Ninja World War, Konoha's forces were all in the Rain country, so he couldn't support it. After carefully pondering the time when Kushina came to Konoha, Minato withdrew to a conclusion. At that time, the battlefield in the Kingdom of Rain was only a stalemate. It is still far away from the final battle, when Mr. Jiraiya was hailed as Konoha Sanin. But Konoha still didn't mean to leave for support. Until the last moment, Kushina was brought back in a very clever situation. Was it helpless or intentional? He didn't ask 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen about this. That's also the dusty history of Konoha. No one knows what happened and what 3rd generation thought at that time. These are not important anymore. At least the current Minato knows that there are still many orphans of the Uzumaki clan in the ninja world. The Uzumaki clan still survives in the world. But for the Uzumaki family, some people still know who is the culprit. After all, Kurigakure and Cloud Shinobi Village did not intervene when the battlefield of the Kingdom of Rain fell into a stalemate. The only ones who may destroy the Vortex country are them. Nagato. In a corner of the stands, Jiraiya was leaning against the wall, and when he heard the name, he suddenly froze and grabbed the railing and looked down. Uzumaki Nagato is his disciple. Didn't he die under Bajian's attack? But why is he carrying the forehead protector from Yinyan village on his head at this moment? According to the message from Minato, it's not that the Tone 530 hidden village was actually founded by Orochimaru. Even Nagato became genin taking the exam. Fortunately, puzzled. Jiraiya's head is full of question marks. And not far from him, the 2 maids of Mitarashi's house were sitting there and talking. When the name of Uzumaki Nagato came, Conan's body emblem was slightly stunned, and then returned to normal. Well, I thought you would just jump down and talk to him. The cute cat-ear girl winked by wooden golem, seemingly puzzled. What did you say to him? Quote. Conan's expression remained unchanged, and he calmly leaned on wooden golem's shoulder. Tell him the truth. Or calm him down. I don't know why he came here. But Akatsuki White Tiger Conan is dead, and the one who lives is Konoha Kenpachi's maid. Since it is from Konoha Kenpachi, if he wants to destroy this village, he is probably my enemy. She has changed. Wooden golem opened his mouth and finally put Conan's head into his arms. This change is not done instantaneously. How difficult it is to cut off everything before, as the maids, wooden golem and Conan empathize with each other. When Conan first came, it looked like she had just come to Konoha. But when you gradually become indifferent to everything, you realize that you have integrated into this village. No matter whether you refuse in your heart or not, the present day is what you want to get. To put it simply, the peace-loving Nagato in Conan's heart has changed the most. It was just like the strong murderous aura he exudes from standing on the stage now. So strange. But whether Conan really let go, wooden golem doesn't know. I have an ominous hunch. In the distance, Black Zetsu and Obito stood at the top and looked at each other. After scanning Yi Bajian in the field, Black Zetsu said involuntarily. The breath of your mother. What happened? All went wrong. All plans of Infinite Tsukuyomi, Akatsuki, Obito, etc. have been changed. He is stunned at the moment, especially for the Yi Bajian below. How familiar and kind the mother's breath is. But this familiarity was revealed from the man. Nonsense. Nagato's identity has been seen through. Damn it, it's clear that his breath has changed a lot, so why is it directly seen through? Obito clenched his fist and looked puzzled. Obsessed. They looked at the arrogant state of affairs and obviously didn't know what to do next. Withdraw. Let's cooperate with Orochimaru's performance first. After speaking, Black Zetsu shrank into the wall. It's really impossible to control Black Zetsu for a while to force a sense of presence. This is the history of ninja world called Black Zetsu's mother-saving story. How can it be done without him? In Yinyan village, there are really many talents. There are people from the Uzumaki clan. In the middle of the viewing seat, Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled and said to Orochimaru next to him. Where is it? It can't be compared with Konoha. Orochimaru, who ran all the way to grab the position next to third generation, looked gloomy and stared at Sarutobi and said. It's close at hand. After briefly retracting his gaze to look around, Kabuto was already in place, and the 5 members of Odonin had gathered. Just wait for the battle below to get fierce. Konoha collapse plan will start. Teacher Sarutobi, your life has entered the countdown. It's a pity that you still don't recognize me until now. Teacher Sarutobi, I stand in front of you. You see me a bit like before. The enlarged version of the center of the Death Forest, which is in the tower several times larger than the original. Under the gaze of the elites in Konoha and the leaders of the various shinobu villages, the 2 figures below finally stood. Facades face each other. Yi Bajian and Uzumaki Nagato. Whatever this man like Saping does, he doesn't do anything casually. He has a strong sense of purpose. Choose here to understand the grievances. The guy who owns Rinnegan goes crazy, and the damage caused can be classified as a map cannon. There is an enchantment on the inserting platform, but this fragile thing like paper can't stop that kind of process at all. Degree of attack. But Bajian is confident that no one can make waves when he is here. Solve the hidden danger of Nagato, and then slowly appreciate what Orochimaru is going to please him. The purpose of Bajian. On the court, the 2 stopped. Nagato slowly raised his head. The bucket fell, revealing conspicuous red hair. The unstable breath is slowly flowing out, and the circle of reincarnation in the pupil looks quite hideous. Nice eyes, nice look. But unfortunately, the chatters of the Ōtsutsuki clan lack a unique aesthetic. Bajian held the knife, his eyes closed and then slowly opened, the wedge on his arm extended to the blade, and the mystery in his pupils, like the vast universe, made Nagato's eyelids tremble. Do you look good at me, the blue one? In a blink of an eye. Equivalent to Rinnegan, similar in function, but essentially different eyes. What about Conan? Superfluous nonsense. Nagato doesn't seem to say much to the man in front of him. At the moment, he is standing here. He just wants to destroy this village, the village he hates. The more Konoha is like the peaceful scene that Yahiko imagined when he was a child, the more he hated this village. That is a piece that is completely different from my own ideas. To recognize this village is to deny your own existence. And Bajian is not Naruto either. Because they are Jiraiya's apprentices, they choose to forgive each other's actions. Well, although he hasn't done anything yet. But there is no topic in common between the 2 people. Conan. Bajian sighed calmly. My maid, there is no need for others to worry. The only thing I can tell you is that she is very happy. Glancing at Nagato's legs, Bajian sighed. Hashirama Cell plus White Zetsu, plus Uchiha Letter replica legs. This unlucky boy is really desperate. It is estimated that apart from the will, the whole person is not his own. Is it really good to live like this? AEFJ. A bag of rice. Seping was stimulated by Bajian's words, and Nagato opened his mouth to sell rice with a fierce look. Wait a minute. Tilting his head, Bajian's gaze swept to a figure in the distant viewing seat. The maid has changed from resistance to obedience. Turning his head, Bajian looked seriously at Nagato, who wanted to sell rice. I give you a chance to choose and be an ordinary person from today. Abandon your self-proclaimed god, find a quiet place to grow rice well, and give Konoha regularly. Selling rice is not always a problem. How? Quote. From god, to man again. Live well, it's a face to Jiraiya. After all, from some perspectives, I and this kid are still in the same clan. Opportunity he gave. How to choose depends on Nagato himself. Only in response to Bajian's indifference. And Nagato's slowly rising body. At this moment, Nagato no longer relies on Six Paths Pen to fight, or he is Six Paths Pen himself. Feel the pain. What I said just now is for nothing. Bajian smiled slightly and didn't stop Nagato from rising. Lifting Zanpakuto high and inserting it into the ground. The place of Shay. It's like a real barrier instantly spreading, and just a few breaths envelop the entire arena. The invisible barriers and realms actually exist. Shikai ability from Bajian's own Zanpakuto. Absolutely in control. At this moment, his Reiatsu is enough to cover the entire arena. Painful. Make the world feel painful. I'm going. That person is flying. What kind of trick is this? Master F*K, have you ever heard of a hand that fell from the sky? The people in the audience were whispering curiously. And Orochimaru's expression in the middle position changed suddenly. Nagato actually intends to use this trick when he comes up. Together with us all want to kill. Run. Panic. Quote. The leader of Yinyan village. Just when Orochimaru was hesitating, a hand grabbed his arm. It is third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. Maybe you don't know the man who fought with the ninja in your village, but the old man knows. He is here. No one can hurt Konoha's villagers, this old man still has confidence. So the leader of Yinyan village, you don't have to panic, it's just a small scene. Third generation said calmly, but the flashing light in his eyes made Orochimaru's heart abrupt. I wanted to get rid of third generation's hands, but found that the force above was a bit too strong. Want to catch me? Snort. Let you see your disciple's growth. With a sneer, Orochimaru fought back. Please let me go, third Hokage. Trying to squeeze his throat, Orochimaru pinched his legs, showing a delicate look. Men and women are not getting married, please let me go. This time Sarutobi was embarrassed. When Orochimaru said, the gazes around him suddenly increased. Gone. I have long heard that Konoha's third Hokage is unscrupulous and will use a crystal ball to spy on the female bath. I didn't expect it to be so bad now that it directly grabs the female leader's hand. What is he going to do? What is he going to do? Is it one of them? Sarutobi, shameless. The surrounding voices penetrated into third generation's ears, and the old face was covered with red. Even if he is shameless anymore, he can't stand up to things like taking advantage of him. No way, he finally let go of the opponent's hand. But Orochimaru still looked at the strange look in his eyes, puzzled. Did he see my identity? Nagato's body continued to rise. People's heads also looked into the air, looking up at each other. Across the distance, they seemed to be able to see the lavender eyes. Rinnegan. How many floors a bag of rice has to hit? The air seemed to calm down, but Nagato's words pierced into people's ears, and they were very clear. A bag of rice will hit the second floor. In the dark, the breeze blew across Nagato's hair. The conspicuous red slowly turned white, but as he turned white, his legs touched slightly, followed by. It's red again. Vitality supply. How tired I should be for a bag of rice. A bag of rice wants me to wash. The body paused, and Nagato's body, still under the absolute control of Bajian, began to tremble. I washed so much mud for a bag of rice. Everything is muddy. Who will give you a bag of rice? Shen Luo Tianzheng. The strong repulsion broke out frantically. Visible space shocks, making everyone in the audience panic and want to retreat. But just before his huge repulsion broke out, a beam of light instantly rose from below the platform. The soft breath instantly blocked the seemingly terrifying expansion force. The repulsive force broke out, but in the end it did not penetrate the domain of absolute control. On the contrary, the ground in the enchantment began to crumble into smoke and dust. The violent tremor spread from the center tower, and people looked at the deep pit at the bottom in horror. So destructive. If they don't have this level of enchantment, what will be the consequences? Wrong. Master Bajian. Where is Master Bajian? The people who recovered their blemish were cracking, watching the smoke and dust stubbornly. They are blocked outside the barrier, but there is also Konoha's spiritual pillar inside. The shadows of the major ninja villages are chuckles. Konoha Shinobi is worried, but when the smoke and dust dissipated, the body that was still straight finally let Konoha's ninjas relax. How could the living legend fall because of this degree of attack? Konoha Kenpachi is invincible. It seems that you haven't made much progress. In the pit, Bajian still kept the same drinking action before, looking up into the air as if provocatively. Reaching out his hand to pat the dust on his shoulders, the man became lazy. Gone. I remember the last time I was in Rain Shinobi Village, I seemed to talk to you. Be more vigorous. Master is struggling. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running.